You know it's this. Take a perk and a talk of that shit. Money swallowing like sis. Did it perfect in the kid. Got a billion who sang on my head. Look up better. Put on the road I just spent. I know we got $1 million. The devil that shit ain't not cheaper again.
Hello and welcome back, fellow anime lovers, to MangaMuse. I am delighted to have you join us once again in the world of fanfiction and fantasy. This is the third part of What If Naruto Enters Undertale? Special note, this fanfic is written and a masterpiece of Hussbek on FANFICTIONnet. Do check and support the author too. Now smash the like, share and subscribe button for more. Also press the bell icon so that you never miss such great parts. Thanks for the introduction. Now let's dive into the world. Naruto and Frisk with Nikken following them as always exited from Alphys' lab after their encounter with Alphys and Mettaton, with the former wanting to help them by being their guide through Hotland towards the barrier and Askari. "It's very hot in this place," said Frisk. "Must be because we're in a volcanic section of the underground now that I think about it, kinda makes me wonder how exactly they can get electricity in this place," said Naruto thoughtfully. "I think we should keep going to find our way out of this place." "Point taken, let's go." The duo continued along the hot pathway whilst making sure to keep away from the edges and falling over to the abyss. They also came across active conveyor belts which carried them along the way in certain directions depending which one they would step on. They also came across a monster called Vulcan who resembles a mini volcano. They were able to befriend the monster by giving it a hug, albeit had to let go quickly or else end up burning themselves from contact. Naruto and Frisk also went across several conjoined pipes and makeshift bridges before coming across a save point for Naruto to access. The whooshing sound of steam and cogs, it fills you with determination. Save. Yes/no. Naruto confirmed the save before they resumed their trek along the path but came to a dead end. There were several platforms ahead, however the gaps in between are too wide to jump across and there's a high chance of falling to the magma below. "How do we get through here, Naruto? Should we call Alphys for help?" asked Frisk. Naruto was about to respond when something caught his eye. He looked to see a steam vent on the floor and an idea began to form in his mind. "Not quite, I got an idea." "What is it?" "We can use the steam from the vents. We could step on top to block the outflow for it to build up, then release for it to propel us across," Naruto suggested. Frisk was unsure of this idea though. "But isn't that dangerous?" "Yeah, but we don't exactly have anything to use as a bridge." "I'll try it first." Naruto stepped on the vent and could feel the steam build up before the gathered force launch him into the air across the gap and landing on the other side with a few stumble before righting himself. He turned to Frisk and called out, "It works like I thought. Gotta thank a couple of video games for that." "Give it a try, I'll be here to catch you." "Oh okay." Frisk stepped on the vent with Nikken in her arms and was soon propelled into the air as well. Naruto quickly moved forward and caught her in his arms. "Thank you." Naruto nodded in affirmation. "You're welcome, now let's get a move on." They went on to explore the area, especially through the southern pathway, but didn't get that far and found a burnt pan along the way and stored inside one of the dimension boxes thanks to the features which Alphys installed in their phones before backtracking and now taking the northern route via the steam vents. The trio came across a pathway being obstructed by laser beams of various colors. Then Naruto's phone started ringing until he answered it. "Hello?" asked Naruto. Hi. "The blue lasers are Alphys here, hi," said Alphys. "Hey there Alphys-san, what were you saying before?" asked Naruto. Oh, I meant to say that the blue lasers won't hurt you if you don't move." "Oh, orange ones, you would have to keep moving." "You won't have to keep moving, bye." Then she ended the call before Naruto could say anything. Naruto hummed thoughtfully. "What was Alphys trying to tell us?" asked Frisk. "I think she's trying to say that the blue lasers won't hurt us as long we don't move, but for the orange lasers, we need to be constantly moving. So the blue lasers are just like the blue attacks from some of the monsters before where we stayed still, but now any orange attacks requires us to move to avoid being hurt." "Sounds just about right, let's go." Naruto carried Nikken once more, then he and Frisk began cautiously traversing through the lasers, remaining still for the blue lasers to pass through them and walking through the orange lasers without slowing down till they reached the end. There was even a SWCH nearby which they used to deactivate the lasers in case they ever came back through here. They now came upon a crossroads of sorts with two steam vents leading off to left and right pathways while a third directs forward to a large gate which is currently closed up. Two different routes and a shut gate. I reckon we need to find switches of sorts to open them, but I'll call Alphys just in case. Naruto took out his phone and called Alphys' number. It rang for a while until the royal scientist finally answered. Hello, Alphys here. Hey Alphys, we're standing before a gate with two alternate pathways, any way to get it open? Asked Naruto. You'll need to solve the puzzles on the left and right paths to open the gate, though I think you should start with the right first. Okay, thank you, said Frisk before Naruto ended the call. They used the steam vent to go over to the right path as suggested and went inside the room. The duo came across what was called a shooting puzzle. There were instructions nearby which told them how the puzzle is solved. They were to shoot the ship on the other side but blocks were barring the way so they would have to carefully use the limited ammunition to get at the ship. Frisk was able to solve the puzzle before making their way out and heading over to the left path but were blocked by blue lasers before the next ahead of them. Then Alphys called to speak to them. I almost forgot about the lasers. Don't worry as I'll deactivate them, said Alphys. It didn't take very long for the blue lasers to deactivate there, just like I said. Thanks Alphys, now we can reach the next puzzle, said Naruto. Why you're welcome. They went inside the room for the next shooting puzzle. It was a bit more tricky due to there being more blocks but they were able to solve it regardless before doubling back to find the gate now open for them to proceed through it and propelled along multiple steam vents to the other side and continuing on their way only to find themselves inside a dark room. Alphys called them not to worry, I'll hack the light system to show you where you are. The lights soon came on to reveal that they were in a kitchen. How did we end up in a kitchen? Asked Frisk confusedly. Suddenly, Mettaton appeared from behind a kitchen counter while wearing a chef's hat. Welcome beauties, to the Underground's premiere cooking show. A large neon sign saying, cooking with a killer robot, was lowered above them. Preheat your ovens cause we got a very special recipe for you today. We're going to be making a cake. A cake? Asked Frisk confusedly while Naruto simply frowned with his body tensed for anything. My lovely assistants here will be gathering the ingredients so let's give them a hand. Mettaton clapped his hands while the sound of applause could be heard in the background. We'll need sugar, milk, and eggs. Please fetch them for us dearies. Frisk turned to Naruto, what do we do? Not much of a choice at the moment, might as well get those ingredients but stand on guard for anything, said Naruto. They headed over to the rear counter and picked up the eggs, sugar and milk then returning to place them on the front. Thank you dears, we now have all of the oh silly me. I forgot the most important of ingredients. Mettaton reached into the counter's cabinet and pulled out a chainsaw. A human soul. What the hey? Naruto jumped towards Frisk with a hand on his sheath Bakken and his eye about to light up with determination to protect her and Frisk growling in support. Suddenly a phone began to ring and Alphys' voice was heard on the loudspeaker. W8. I'm in the middle of something here, said Mettaton. I know. But I wanted to suggest you using a substitute. A substitute? What of the person I is a vegetarian? Vegan? WLI. That's a brilliant idea. It just so happens that I have a substitute just for this scenario. Actually, I happen to have an option right here. MTT brand always convenient human soul flavor substitute. A can of which is just over on that counter. Mettaton pointed at a can placed atop a faraway cupboard. Well, darling. Why don't you go get it? Okay, Frisk went over to take the can when the cupboard suddenly began to shoot up from the ground rapidly. By the way, our show runs on a strict schedule. If you can't get the can in the next 1 minute we'll just have to go back to the original plan. So better start climbing, appealing. Mettaton transformed into his flight form and took off. Naruto ran over with a frown on his face. How does he expect us to get to that can in time? Actually I prepared for this moment. Alphys spoke up, still on the line. Frisk, take out your phone. You see that huge button that says, jetpack? Press it and see what happens. Frisk pushed the button and the cell phone transformed into a jetpack and attached itself to her back. Wow, said Frisk in wonder. Naruto was just as surprised as you. Only see these kind of things on movies and video games. You should have just enough fuel to reach the top. Now, get up there. Alright. The jetpack began powering up before she took to the air towards the top of the towering cupboard. However, it appears that Mettaton wasn't going to let her reach the can so easily, as he began to drop eggs, flour, and milk to slow her down. Frisk had trouble a few times at first, but she got used to the controls and was able to evade them and reach the can before the time ran out. My. It seems you've bested me. But only because you had the help of the brilliant Dr. Alphys. Oh, I loathe to think of what would have happened to you without her. Well, toodles. Mettaton was about to leave when Frisk called out to him. But what about the substitute then? Asked Frisk confusedly. Oh yes. About the substitution. Haven't you ever seen a cooking show before? I already baked the cake ahead of time. So, forget it. The robot flew away with Frisk descending to the ground and the jetpack reverting to the phone. That was pretty weird if you ask me. Might as well keep going and watch out for any more of Mettaton's shows, said Naruto, crossing his arms in thought. I'll be here to help you guys out, said Alphys before ending the call. Continuing on their way, Naruto came upon a sight which took them by surprise. In the distance is a metallic structure interlaced with massive pipes in the middle of the lake of magma and seems to be flowing into it. Naruto decided to take a picture of the place with his phone for later reference. What is that place? Asked Naruto curiously. Let's call Alphys and ask her, said Frisk before using her phone to call the scientist and asking her. That's the core. The source of all power for the underground. It converts geothermal energy into magical electricity. Anyway, that's where we're going to go. In the core is an elevator directly to Ascari's castle, Alphys explained. Thanks for the info, Alphys, said Naruto gratefully. Why, you're welcome. Naruto came upon the next save point for him to access as always. The air is filled with the smell of ozone. It fills you with determination. Save. Yes/no. The trio reached the end of the pathway to enter an elevator which took them to the next floor before continuing on to a sentry station where they saw Sans yet along with several other monsters, though they seemed to be eating hot dogs at the same, so they went to speak with the friendly skeleton. Hey there guys, would you like a hot dog? It only costs 30 G, asked Sans. Sure, but is there something we need to know before buying it? Asked Naruto, recalling when Sans tried to sell fried snow to them back in Snowdin. Nothing much besides tasting good and barking when you eat it. Sans noted the disturbed looks on the children's faces and Wolf Pup just about to bolt, but know that no dogs or cat were used in the production of the food, so no need to be so bone-rattled. Really, Sans? We'll take 3, said Naruto, taking out 90 G then receiving the hot dogs. Sure enough, the food barked, which really unsettled them, but nothing more. That plus Naruto used check and saw that the meat was from water sausages. Good luck out there kiddos, Sans bade them goodbye as they left. After leaving the sentry station and going on their way, Nikken had wandered off for a moment and returned with a stain apron which immediately told the children that it belonged to one of the humans who fell into the underground before them before placing into one of the dimension boxes. The next area was a puzzle involving 2 conveyor belts moving in opposite directions with 3 switches lined up at the rightmost conveyor belt. Alphys called to tell them that they need to press the switches in one go in order to deactivate the force field ahead and promised to help with the rhythm. Naruto went on to press the switches and successful with the first 2 but was distracted by a phone call when about to hit the final SWCH. Alphys apologized a lot for that and hacked the system to shut down the force field. They could continue onwards. The next puzzle involved multiple steam vents on several floor panels, but they had to be careful as landing on a panel would cause all of the vents to change directions each time. It took some trial and error till they figured the right pattern to getting to the other side, where was another save point to be accessed by the blonde boy. Knowing that the mouse might one day hack the computerized maze to get the cheese, it fills you with determination. Save. Yes/no. Things got a bit tricky as the trio were being accosted by a pair of the very same royal guards from before due to having been informed by an anonymous tip and attacked them, the fight went as normal, then things turned kinda awkward when one of the guards kind of confessed his feelings to the other in the midst of the battle before quickly shrugging it off as being mind-controlled by the humans before both left to get some ice cream. Neither kid said a word before resuming their trek. The trio went along the pathway and could tell that they were getting much closer to the core when they found themselves in yet another dark area and already having a sense of déjà vu, which was when Alphys called. "I'm back, so where are you two now?" asked Alphys curiously. "We're in another dark room with the lights out and I get the feeling that Mettaton's here," said Naruto with a frown. "What is he going to do now?" asked Frisk worriedly. Suddenly the lights turn on to reveal that they're in an area with active conveyor belts and items scattered about, namely, a basketball, a glass of water, a video game, a present, a script, and the dog from before but is currently sleeping. A TV hung overhead turned on to reveal Mettaton dressed in a business suit and inside of a newscasting room. "Good evening, beauties and gentle beauties. This is Mettaton, reporting live from MTT News. An interesting situation has arisen in Eastern Hotland. Fortunately, our correspondent is out there, reporting live. Brave correspondent. Please find something newsworthy to report. Our 10 wonderful viewers are waiting for you," said Mettaton. "Here we go again, so he wants us to find something to report. No doubt one of them is a trap, so we need to be careful," said Naruto thoughtfully, looking at the items around them. Frisk looked at the items before seeing one which she suggested to him. "How about the dog? It's not an item but alive." "Good idea, Frisk-chan," the girl blushed shyly from the blonde's praise. They went over to the dog and pointed at it for Mettaton to see. What a sensational opportunity for a story. I can see the headline now, "A dog exists somewhere." "Frankly, I'm blown away," Mettaton then declared. "Attention, viewers. Our correspondent has found a dog." The crowd could be heard awing. "That's right, folks. It's the feel-good story of the year. Look at its little ears, tiny paws, fluffy tail. Wait a second. That's not a tail. That's a fuse. That's right, that dog is a bomb. But don't panic. You haven't even seen the rest of the room yet." Naruto and Frisk practically looked around to see that all of the remaining items were also bombs as well, and there was even a bigger one a small distance away from where they stood. Oh my! It seems everything in this area is actually a bomb. Brave correspondents, if you don't defuse all of the bombs, this big bomb will blow you to smithereens in 2 minutes. Then you won't be reporting live any longer. How terrible. How disturbing. Our 9 viewers are going to love watching this. Good luck, darlings. You gotta be kidding me, they were all traps, but how could the dog also be a trap, said Naruto in disbelief as some of the items began actually moving around to make it hard to catch them. Alphys, do you have something that can help us? Asked Frisk nervously. Don't worry. I installed a bomb defusing program on your phone. Use the defuse option when you're within range of the bomb. And now, go get M. Alphys explained. Naruto tapped the icon on the phone to activate the app and saw a radar on the screen. Let's split up to defuse the bombs, it will be quicker that way. Frisk nodded in affirmation. Okay. The 2 children immediately took off in different directions towards the items scattered about, with Nikken choosing to follow Naruto in tracking down the bombs. Frisk held out her phone in front and it began to beep, then got faster to show that she was getting closer to one of the bombs. She came upon the dog, which had moved elsewhere and went back to sleep, approaching it with the phone beeping faster until she got close enough and pressed a button for the phone to let out a chime before the fuse on the dog's tail fizzled out. Great job. Keep heading around the room, said Alphys happily. Okay, Alphys, said Frisk before moving on. Naruto was rushing about looking for one of the bombs with his phone out. He came across the basketball bomb bouncing around and immediately went after it, but the bomb was bouncing around in random directions, making it a bit difficult for him to grab. Will you hold still for me to disarm you already, said Naruto in annoyance, grabbing at the bomb only to miss yet again. Nikken dashed past Naruto with a bark to intercept where the basketball bomb was able to bounce and headbutt it towards Naruto, who quickly caught it with both arms much to his surprise. Now wasting another second, Naruto quickly used his phone to disarm the bomb before patting Nikken's head with the wolf pup leaning in to receive more affection from him. "Thanks Nikken, you're definitely getting a treat after this," said Naruto, chuckling at seeing the wolf pup's tail wagging excitedly at his words. "Now, let's continue to find the remaining bombs." Elsewhere, Frisk was able to locate the movie script bomb, but she would have to make her way through the moving orange and blue laser beams in order to get to it. She was able to pass through the stationary orange lasers unharmed, but had to be cautious of the blue lasers moving back and forth by timing her movements until she was safely clear of the lasers, then disarming the bomb with her phone. "There, I was able to stop this bomb from blowing up too," said Frisk, feeling a bit relieved. "Way to go, there's only 3 bombs left to disarm," said Alphys. Naruto located the next bomb being inside the video game, which was currently hovering about a conveyor belt whilst constantly moving left and right. He ran over to the end of the conveyor belt which would carry him towards the bomb. Naruto carefully timed his jump to grab the bomb and landing back on the conveyor, then proceeded to disarm it as well. Another one down, just a couple more to go. Naruto looked to see the glass of water moving around haphazardly. "Now how I am gonna catch that one?" "And not to worry, I should able to help with that one soon," said Alphys. Frisk located the next bomb being the one inside the over at the platform from her position, so she used the steam vent to launch herself over to it and disarm the bomb. All that's left is the one in the glass of water, but she wasn't too sure of how exactly to catch it. "Not to worry, I'm using EM fields to trap the glass of water for Naruto to disarm it," said Alphys. "Okay then, I'll be going back to meet with him." Frisk went back the same way she came via the steam vents and arrived to see Naruto having disarmed the final bomb. "So that's all of them?" Naruto nodded in affirmation. "Yeah, the large bomb is what we have to worry about now." Then Metatun spoke up through the TV. "Well done, darlings. You've deactivated all of the bombs. If you didn't deactivate them, the big bomb would have exploded in 2 minutes. Now it won't explode in 2 minutes. Instead, it'll explode in 2 seconds. Goodbye, darlings." Naruto and Frisk braced for the explosion, but it didn't occur much to their slight confusion. It seems the bomb isn't going off. That's because. While you were monologuing IF fix ICH change. Oh ho, so it was you who stopped the bomb. I should have known better than to attempt this with you around," said Metatun. That's right. Well, at least my 8 wonderful viewers were entertained for tuning in. Until next time, darlings. The TV then switched off to show that the robot was gone yet again. "Thanks for everything Alphys, your tools have really been helping us," said Frisk gratefully. "We really showed him, huh? Hey, I know I was kind of weird at first, but I really think I'm getting more confident about guiding you. So don't worry about that big dumb robot, I'll protect you from him. And if it really came down to it, we could just turn never mind. Later." Alphys nervously ended the call, leaving Naruto to frown a bit. With the force field which had been blocking their way now gone, the trio continued on their way, but one would notice that Naruto has been silent with a small frown on his face. Even Nikken was wondering why his likable human is being so quiet. "Naruto, is there something the matter?" asked Frisk with concern. "It's just that everything which has been going on has been giving me strange feelings. The traps made by Metatun nearly gets us before Alphys helps get us out of them," said Naruto. "Well, Alphys created Metatun so she would know what he would try to do. Those features in our phones really helped us in them," said Frisk. "I guess, though I can't help but feel that we're missing something in all this." Their phones began ringing, to which they answered to speak to Alphys. "Hello, is there something wrong? If you're worried about meeting Askari, then you shouldn't. He's a very nice guy. I'm sure that by talking to him, he would let you two go through the barrier, as I can see that your souls are powerful enough to do so. There's no need to worry." Then she ended the call. "From everything we've been hearing, Askari is actually a kind king, so why does Toriel make him sound so evil?" asked Frisk. Probably because she's speaking from her point of view, no doubt that meeting Askari in person and learning from him will reveal something else. It's what my dad taught me, a true story is one told from many sides instead of one. Well, we're still going to meet him, so I guess we'll learn everything soon enough, said Frisk. Nicken barked in agreement. Locating the next elevator, Naruto and Ko made their way up to the next floor to find that the pathway is much more modernized compared to the rocky ones from before. Moving further ahead, they came across a stall where a monster appears to selling confectionaries and went to take a closer in case there's anything worth purchasing to use along the way. She is an anthropomorphic spider monster with periwinkle or lavender skin, 5 eyes, 6 arms, and 2 legs. She wears red rompers with buttons in the front, a red ribbon across her chest, as well as twin pigtails in her hair. The monster introduced herself, "Hello there, my name is Muffet and welcome to my bake sale where I sell confectionaries of heavenly taste, interested in any of our spider pastries?" "We'd like to take a look." Naruto and Frisk checked the pastries laid out on the table, being heaping plates of donuts, croissants, and even cider. They would have bought something if not for one simple issue. Each of them costs 9,999 G. Naruto looked behind him to see a monster holding a donut with eyes which practically screamed, "Why on earth did I buy this?" "So, are you interested in some spider pastries?" asked Muffet politely. Naruto smiled a bit apologetically, "Not yet, maybe at a later time as we need to be elsewhere." "I see, then we will meet again." Naruto and Frisk left the bake sale with Nicken next to them, although the former couldn't help the feeling that someone was looking at them intently from behind till they were out of the area. The next area were multiple platforms with steam vents installed in all of them. The group received a text from Alphys, telling them that there are 2 shooting puzzles to the north and south which need to be solved in order to open the gate to the east. The duo decided to split up to solve the puzzles, which was tougher compared to the first 2, but they managed to succeed and open the gate where there was another save point to be accessed. "The smell of cobwebs fill the air. You are filled with determination. Save?" "Yes/no. Naruto, I'm not so sure of going in there, it looks a little scary." Frisk looked on ahead to the next entryway and the many large cobwebs around. "We don't have much of a choice, Frisk-chan, but I'm sure we'll be okay," said Naruto assuredly with a smile. Frisk nodded reluctantly and stood next to him. The group went inside the lightly darkened with cobwebs everywhere, the ceilings, walls and even the floors, also showing to be rather sticky as they were finding it a bit difficult to move around. "Ahuhohu, did you hear what they just said?" a feminine voice suddenly echoed throughout the gloomy room. "Who's there?" "Metatun?" asked Frisk, looking around in fright. "That doesn't sound like him," said Naruto, placing a hand on his Bakken. "They said a pair of humans will come through here. I heard that they hate spiders, that they love to stomp on them, that they like to tear their legs off." "Is someone lying about us?" asked Frisk, frowning at the false accusations. "I heard." The voice could now be heard very close to them and turned to see none other than Muffet standing on a webbed platform holding 2 teacups with her top pair of hands and 2 teapots with her middle pair, "that they're awfully stingy with their money." "Muffet?" Naruto was surprised to see and shivered with the way she was smiling at them. Then they were surrounded by spiders. "Ahuhohu, you think your taste is too refined for our pastries, don't you, dearies?" Muffet giggled again. "Oh woohoo, I disagree with that notion. I think your taste is exactly what this next batch needs." Naruto and Frisk's souls emerged from the chests in front of them to signal a battle, which they quickly used check to learn more about the female arachnid before them. "Muffet. If she invites you to her parlor, excuse yourself." Naruto heard Frisk scream and Nicken and turned around to see them being yanked away by spider webs and were stuck to cobwebs. Frisk. Nicken. He was about to rush over to them when the spiders shooting webbings at his arms and legs to restrain him. "What the? Don't look so blue, my dearies," Muffet giggled upon seeing the humans and wolf pup struggle. Then she poured purple liquid from her teapots which along the webbings towards the humans, changing their souls from red to purple. "I think purple is a better look on you." "Oh woohoo." Naruto groaned at what just happened whilst struggling to break free of the webs. "Ugh, not again." This is the 3rd time already. He saw several spiders swinging towards him, He jerked his body from left to right constantly to evade them till the assault stopped temporarily before resuming his struggle with the bindings. Why so pale? You should be proud. Proud of what? Proud that you're going to make a delicious cake. Woohoo. Muffet sent more spider his with Naruto forced to evade those as well but could feel the bindings becoming loose and put in more effort to get them off him. Please, let us go, said Frisk. Nicken whined as he tried to free himself to help but his attempts ended in failure. Let you go? Don't be silly, your soul is going to make every spider very happy. More spiders were heading Naruto's way yet, but it was at that very moment when his left eye lit up a white flaming aura as he tore the webs off his arms and ripped off the ones on his legs as well before leaping away from the spiders whilst unsheathing his bokken to take a defensive stance. Oh, how rude of me. I almost forgot to introduce you to my pet. It's breakfast time, isn't it? Have fun, you two. Muffet pointed to the left with a giggle for Naruto to turn and see what appears to be a large monster which has the appearance of both a cupcake and a spider as it scuttled towards him with jaws chomping eager to eat. I can't fight that, gotta get away from it. Naruto looked around for a way and found it in the form of webbing which led to a platform above like a ladder. That will do. Sheathing the bokken, Naruto rushed towards the web and began to quickly climb it but suddenly shook, causing him to look down and see the cupcake monster pulling the webbing down to make him fall into his jaws. Remaining undaunted, Naruto climbed even faster till he reached the top in time before the web was completely torn down. Muffet hung from above with a hand basket hanging next to her, having gone ahead of him and was merely watching in amusement. The person who warned us about you offered us a lot of money for your soul. She reached into the basket to take out a couple of donuts. Naruto almost shrugged them off but knew better than to judge by appearance after what he had gone through with Frisk and Nicken so far. He was soon proven right when he saw the donuts glowing purple before she threw them at speeds greater than those baseball pitchers. The blonde darted to the side but noticed that the donuts bounced off the floor and walls, having to dodge again to avoid getting hit by their rebounds in addition to the spiders trying to attack him from his blind spots. Who are you talking about? Asked Naruto, having a suspicion on who it might be. Muffet tapped a finger on her chin in thought. It's strange, but I swore I saw them in the shadows changing shape. A monster that changes shape. You're saying it's a shapeshifter? Oh, it's lunchtime, isn't it? And I forgot to feed my pet. Hearing the familiar scuttling sound amidst Muffet's giggles, Naruto looked to see that the cupcake spider monster has returned and pursuing him once more. Naruto took off with the monster close behind but saw he was reaching the edge with the other platform too far to jump across. Now how do I get over there? He took note of the large cobwebs in between the platforms and an idea took form in his mind. It's crazy enough to work, just need to take the leap of faith. Naruto increased his speed to leap off the platform to land on the first of the cobwebs, then proceeded to jump from one to another as makeshift trampolines, watching out for the spiders swinging to and fro to attack him till safely landing on the next platform with the cupcake monster looking on and growling in annoyance. Naruto looked to see Muffet hanging above him yet again while still looking amused about all this. Why do you need the money anyways? With that money, the spider clans can finally be reunited. Muffet reached into her hand basket again to bring out several croissants. You haven't heard? Spiders have been trapped in the ruins for generations. Even if they go under the door, Snowden's fatal cold is impassable alone. She flung the croissants at Naruto with the blonde dodging some of them and deflecting the others in addition to the donuts which followed up after them. Suddenly he heard Frisk scream. Naruto, look out behind you. Naruto looked over his shoulder to see the croissants he had dodged before were coming towards him like that of boomerangs. He barely blocked some but was hit in the chest and left shoulder before being knocked to the ground. I've learned one thing today: food can be delicious and dangerous to one's health. The blonde groaned as he got back to his feet and picked up the bokken. But with the money from your soul, we'll be able to rent them a heated limo, and with all of the leftovers, we could have a nice vacation or even build a spider baseball field, said Muffet joyfully. Excluding the last part, I can at least understand why you trying to get our souls, said Naruto, remembering the spiders back at the ruins. But enough of that, it's time for dinner, isn't it? A woohoo, said Muffet. Naruto let out a groan before running with the cupcake spider monster chasing after him for the third time so far. He looked around for a way to escape from the monster but wasn't finding any, and the monster drew ever closer to him. Come on Naruto, think of something. He sharply darted to the side to avoid a swinging spider attacking him from above when it suddenly hit him like a train. That's it. He rushed over to a webbing and tore the bottom part off before using it to swing away from the platform. He reached out to grab the next one and swung again, but had to watch out for the incoming spiders heading his way until landing back on the floor where the battle had begun, with Muffet on a web platform, having never lost that amused look on her face. Now I know what it feels like to be Spider-Man, Naruto muttered to himself. You're still alive. Oh woohoo, Muffet giggled before raising one of her hands and about to snap her fingers. Oh, my pet, looks like it's time for dessert. Naruto groaned, gimme a break, I just got down here. Muffet was about to call on her pet once more when one of the spiders went up to her with a sheet of paper for to pick up and read. Huh? A telegram from the spiders in the ruins. She read further. What? They're saying that they saw you, and you helped donate to their cause. Oh yeah, we bought a spider donut while we were back at the ruins before leaving. I actually forgot about that, said Naruto in remembrance. Muffet's 5 eyes widened in shock. Oh my, this has all been a big misunderstanding. I thought you were someone that hated spiders. She snapped her fingers. Then the spiders carried Frisk and Nicken to Naruto before freeing them of the webs. The person who asked for those souls, they must have meant different humans. Frisk hid behind Naruto and peered over his shoulder. So you won't attack us anymore? Sorry for all the trouble, I'll make it up to you. What do you mean? You can come back here any time, and for no charge at all I'll wrap you up and let you play with my pet again. I'll have to pass on that one. Naruto nervously glanced sideways to see said pet peering at him with a hungry look in its eyes. Muffet giggled upon seeing Naruto's expression, leaning forward and booping his nose. Ahuhuhuhu, just kidding, you looked so cute running around. Frisk pulled Naruto back with a small pout. Can we go now? Ahuhuhu, why of course. See you again, dearies. Muffet ascended to the ceilings above and disappeared into the darkness. Let's go Naruto, the sooner we leave this place the better. Frisk grabbed Naruto's and pulled him towards the exit of the room. Even Nicken was tugging at his footwear to make him move, much to his surprise. Frisk, is there something wrong? Asked Naruto. No, there's nothing wrong. We need to watch out for Mettaton, said Frisk. Did I do something to upset her? Thought Naruto as they left the place. Meanwhile, the black silhouette was moving along the hot craggy pathway through Hotland, looking at the surroundings and sniffing every few minutes for the scent. Seems like they're still alive. I thought the royal guards would have caught them by now, especially Undyne. No matter, they're heading for the core, and that is where those humans will meet their end by my hands. The stranger growled in contempt before following along the pathway which Naruto and Frisk had recently gone through with the intention of catching up to them. Come on Frisk, just what was it I did to make you so upset? Asked Naruto as they exited from the spider nest and were currently walking through a purple hallway. I don't really know, said Frisk with a small frown. She didn't really understand the reason but knew that it had something to do with Muffet being so close to him. Both were snapped out of their thoughts when they heard Nicken barking and turned to see the wolf pup standing before a poster on the wall. It turns out to be an announcement of Mettaton's latest stage performance, which depicts a tragic tale of a love triangle. No doubt that this is another one of Mettaton's shows ahead of us, and we don't have any other way to avoid it, said Naruto with a small frown. I'm sure Alphys will help us out of it like the ones before, since she knows how Mettaton is like, said Frisk. I hope so, might as well get on with it. Naruto and the others continued on through the hallway and soon found themselves standing on a stage with designs which reminded them of a well-known scene from Romeo and Juliet. Before they could make sense of this scene, a rather familiar voice called out to them from above. Oh, those humans! They turned to see Mettaton peeking out from a doorway of a tower. Could they be my destined ones? He emerged from the doorway dressed in a light blue ballgown and began descending down the stairs towards them. Why is he wearing a dress? Asked Frisk. Naruto shrugged his shoulders in response. I have no idea in the least right now. Even Nicken tilted his head in confusion at all this. Once reaching the bottom, music began playing in the background as Mettaton started to sing. Oh my love. Even if It breaks my heart. Sakura petals began falling onto the stage at this point. Cry, cry, cry. So sad it's happening. So sad that you're going to the dungeon. Mettaton suddenly held out a remote. Well, toodles. He pressed a button to activate a trapdoor right underneath the humans and wolf pup to fall through and find themselves in the aforementioned dungeon with Mettaton hovering above them with a rocket thruster. Oh no, whatever shall I do? My destined ones have been cast away into the dungeon with a puzzle so dastardly that my paramours will surely perish, said Mettaton with a dramatic flair. What puzzle is it? Asked Naruto with a quirked eyebrow. Naruto, look over there, doesn't that look familiar? Frisk pointed as she spoke. The blonde looked across the conveyor belt and his eyes widened in recognition. Hold on, that's... Oh heavens have mercy, it is the horrible color tile maze. Each color tile has its own sadistic function. For example, a green tile sounds a noise and then you must fight a monster, red tiles will... Mettaton paused for a moment. Wait a second, didn't we see this puzzle about 100 rooms ago? Of course, you remember all the rules, right? Naruto attempted to explain. Actually we dash. Recall the rules. That's great, then I won't waste your time repeating them, said Mettaton. Wait. We don't really dash, Frisk tried to speak. Oh, and you better hurry though. If you don't get through in 30 seconds, suddenly a wall of flames appeared from behind the children and wolf pup, you'll be incinerated by these jets of fire. Mettaton cackled evilly. My poor loves, I'm so filled with grief, I can't stop laughing. Good luck darlings. Come on Frisk-chan. Nikken. We need to get through this maze fast, said Naruto urgently. But we don't remember all of the tiles, said Frisk worriedly. I know, but we don't have much options right now, let's go. They ran along the conveyor belt which slowed them down a bit to reach the colored tile maze with the wall of flames gradually coming after them as Mettaton hovered above them and was singing a song. Oh my love. Has fallen down. Now in tears. We all will drown. Colored tiles. Make them a fool. If only they still knew the rules. Oh sure, rub it and why don't you? Like anyone was expecting us to remember all that for this moment, Naruto grumbled in annoyance. He and Frisk tried to make their way through the maze but their attempts led them to being zapped, bitten and blocked off every step of the way and the approaching flames weren't making it any easier for them in this situation. Mettaton continued to sing, further annoying the blonde. Well, that was a sorry try. Now let's watch them fry. They hardly made quarter way through the maze when a buzzer sounded to signal that their time was up with the titles turning gray and another wall of flames appeared at the other end to block their way. Darn it, we didn't make it, Naruto growled in frustration. Oh, I'm so sorry darlings, but it looks like you're out of time. Here comes the flames. Mettaton declared with the walls of flames drawing closer to the children. Frisk took out her phone and called Alphys. Alphys, we could really use your help here. Hold on, I'm hacking into the firewall right now, said Alphys. Please hurry, said Naruto while eyeing the approaching flames and sweat dripped down his face a bit. The flames are closing in any minute now. Mettaton then noticed the flames dying and realized what happened. How could this happen? Foiled by the great Dr. Alphys when I was so close to. That's right. I'll keep countering you in every way. Just go home, your puzzle is over, said Alphys confidently. Puzzle? Over? My dear Alphys, you seem to have forgotten something. What is it? Surely you haven't forgotten that stepping green make a sound and you will have to fight a monster. One of you darlings stepped on a green tile and now you shall face a monster which is me. Naruto and Frisk's souls emerged from their chests to signal a battle. The former is unsure of how they can fight him since the check informed them that he's completely invulnerable to attacks. This is it darlings, say goodbye. Mettaton approached menacingly with the children backing away, not knowing what to do about this. Naruto, what do we do? Asked Frisk worriedly with Naruto standing in front to protect her. Naruto was about to respond when Frisk's phone began to ring. "Is that your phone? You better answer it since it will be your last," said Mettaton. Frisk nodded hesitantly and answered the phone. Hello? It's me Alphys. I know that things are looking bad, but I've installed one last thing into your phone." "What is it?" asked Naruto. "Frisk, press the yellow button on your phone." "Oh okay." Frisk pushed the yellow button, which suddenly caused her soul to change colors from red to yellow. Wow, just like the last 2 times. "Now aim the phone's antenna at Mettaton and press the yellow button again to fire at him." Frisk took aim at the robot and pressed the yellow button, surprising her and Naruto when a yellow bullet shot out of the phone's antenna like a bullet and hit Mettaton, who winced in pain. "Humph, to think that you still have a trick up your sleeves thanks to the doctor. But this won't be the last you'll see of me," said Mettaton before flying away yet again. "You guys really did a great job keeping Mettaton away." "Well, we have you to thank for it. We wouldn't have been able to this without your help," said Naruto gratefully. Alphys chuckled nervously over the phone. Can I tell you something?" "What is it?" "Back before I met you three, I didn't really like myself very much." "Why's that?" asked Frisk. "For a long time, I felt like a screw-up. Like I couldn't do anything without letting everyone down. But guiding you has made me feel a lot better about myself. So thanks for letting me help you." "You're welcome, also thanks for helping us so far. Hearing your words further encourages us to avoid fighting the monsters who aren't our enemies," said Naruto with a smile. Anyway, we're almost to the core." "You're right, let's keep moving." Frisk ended the phone call before they continued on their way out of the dungeon. The group exited from the dungeon to a familiar crossroad, but it was no longer blocked off by the royal guards as they're having ice cream bought from the nice cream guy close by, so they could now freely access the northern path now. "Wow," said Frisk in wonder at what she was looking at. "I know what you mean, Frisk-chan," said Naruto in agreement. The trio were gazing upon a rather swanky building before them, which reminds them of those fancy hotels that they see on TV or brochures. There was a neon sign above the entrance which said MTT, and saw 2 symbols resembling Mettaton on both sides. "It looks like this place has a lot to do with Mettaton," said Naruto thoughtfully when he felt his soul pulse from within, "Naruto, there's a note here." Naruto turned to Frisk, who was pointing at said note on the floor. "Something's written on it." They took a closer look at the note to read. "Hey! Go up to the creepy alleyway on the right for some great deals." "I think it's a shop, Naruto," said Frisk. "Sounds like it, but let's be careful in case it's a trap," Naruto pointed out with Frisk nodding in agreement. The trio went through the alleyway until reaching the end of it, where they came upon a pair of 2 female monsters. One is a tall crocodile monster with green scales and yellow hair which flows into curls. She wears a pink shawl with yellow and blue designs on the sides. The other is a chubby cat monster with purple fur and black hair with a blue streak through it. She wears a pair of blue overalls with yellow buttons and tufts of yellow artificial fur sticking out from under it at both sides, and a yellow earring on her left ear. "Hey, check it out," said the alligator monster. "Yeah, check it out," said the cat monster. Both were gesturing to the items spread out on a cloth before them on the floor. "Okay, but could we know who you 2 are?" asked Frisk politely. "I'm Bratty, and this is my best friend Catty," said the alligator. "I'm Catty, and this is my best friend Bratty," and the cat. Both ended up speaking at the same time before looking at each other and laughing at what they just did, with Naruto smiling in amusement and Frisk giggling at their antics before looking at the items on sale. Junk food 25G. Empty gun 350G. Cowboy hat 350G. Mystery key 600G. Like the previous times, Naruto felt the urge to purchase the empty gun and cowboy as he felt his soul pulse in resonance with them before putting them away in one of the dimensional boxes after payment. Frisk then decided to ask some questions while they were there. Do you 2 know about Mettaton?" Bratty and Catty suddenly had dreamy looks on their faces. "Oh my god, Mettaton, he's like our robot husband and we're so going to marry him," said Bratty. "We're both like already married to him, he just doesn't know it yet," said Catty. Frisk blinked in confusion at the answer to her question. Okay, but it's true that Mettaton was built by Dr. Alphys. Bratty shrugged her shoulder. That's what they tell you, but like Mettaton acts like it was his idea to be built. Even after he was built, he and Alphys acted like they were friends. But they're like not friends anymore, said Caddy. Is that so? Said Naruto thoughtfully. What can you tell us about Alphys herself? Alphys, she used to live with us and was like our big sister, said Bratty. Caddy spoke up. She showed us the coolest places to find trash at the garbage dump, though she has always been collecting these weird cartoons. But then she became the royal scientist and we haven't seen her in forever. She looked a bit saddened as she spoke. So how did Alphys become the royal scientist for the king? Asked Frisk curiously. Well, Alphys had like always found Askari to be cute, so I'm pretty sure that she made Mettaton to impress him, said Bratty. Caddy continued. A robot with a soul is like super relevant to the king's hobbies, so he asked her to do all this science stuff for him. But nobody has like seen her ever since, never leaving that lab of hers. So Alphys had never left the lab. Makes me wonder how she met Undyne, thought Naruto before snapping back into focus. So, how's Askari like? Oh my god, he's a total goober and a fuzzy goofball. Bratty laughed as she spoke. Caddy nodded in agreement. But we love that guy, he's so nice. And we're like so hyped for the destruction of humanity. The two monsters spoke simultaneously. Hearing this made Naruto and Frisk feel rather uncomfortable and painfully reminded that not all monsters are as friendly as the ones they've met throughout their journey through the underground. Even Nikken was whining a bit at this tense atmosphere. Well, thanks for everything, we'll be on our way, said Naruto, beckoning Frisk and Nikken to follow him back out of the alleyway. No problem, be sure to come back soon as we would have more cool stuff to sell by then, said Bratty. So, like come back to buy more stuff, said Caddy. The group made it back to the front of the MTT resort and were about to contemplate on whether to go inside or not when they saw someone familiar. Hey there kiddos and pup, said Sans with his usual grin. Sans, what brings you here? Asked Frisk. I figured that you'd be here by now and waited so I could invite you to have lunch with me. Naruto hummed thoughtfully. Well, we could use a bit of a break, so sure we can join you for lunch. Great, thanks for treating me, said Sans, making the children blink in confusion at the sudden turnaround of the subject. Come this way, I know a shortcut. They followed the skeleton into the left alleyway and suddenly found themselves sitting at one of the tables of a dine-in restaurant of the MTT resort. Frisk was a little confused, unlike Naruto and Nikken who had experienced this before back at Snowdin. So, your journey's almost over, huh? You must really want to go home, said Sans. Yeah, otherwise we wouldn't have started this journey to begin with, said Naruto seriously. Hey, I know the feeling buddo, though. Frisk looked at Sans. What is it? Maybe sometimes it's better to take what has been given to you. Down here you have food, drinks, friends. Is what you have to do really that worth it? Naruto frowned in response to that. To him this journey is very important to him. He has to return to his mother as she's all he has and vice versa. He doesn't want to even imagine what she's going through in his absence. The blonde silently glanced at Frisk who was looking down at the table, unable to tell what is going through her mind right now. Sans looked at the children before speaking up. Forget it, I'm still rooting for you kiddos. Thanks Sans, said Naruto gratefully. No prob. By the way, wanna hear a story? Asked Sans, receiving nods of affirmation from the kids. As you that I'm a sentry at Snowdin Forest and supposed to watch out for humans, which gets boring as time goes on, but then I found a large door in the forest which was just perfect to practice my knock-knock jokes. One day I was doing a knock-knock joke when I heard a female voice saying, "Who's there?" So I naturally responded, "Dishes, dishes who?" Dishes a very bad joke. Then I heard the woman howling in laughter on the other side. Ever since then, we've been doing knock-knock jokes together. The children realized whom Sans was talking about. He had been talking to Toriel this whole time, but they weren't too sure if the skeleton had realized who she really is. Then one day I noticed that she wasn't laughing as much and asked her what was up besides the ceiling above our heads, and she told me something strange. If a human ever comes through this door, could you promise me something? Watch over them and protect them, would you not? Sans turned away so they wouldn't be able to see the expression on his skeletal face. Now, I hate making promises and I didn't even know this woman's name. But someone who likes my jokes can't be all bad and I couldn't find it in myself to say no to her. She really is a kind-hearted monster, thought Naruto with a soft smile, with Frisk feeling the same way albeit more strongly. Sans continued to speak, do you two understand what I'm trying to say here? What would have happened if she hadn't said anything at all? He still didn't look at them. Buddies, you would be dead where you stand. Exclamation point. The children simply sat there in silence until the words were fully processed in their minds that they reacted. Frisk let out a gasp and went to hide behind Naruto along with a frightened Nikken, as she just couldn't believe that Sans had just admitted that he was willing to kill them without a second thought. She felt hurt that someone she thought could be trusted would kill her regardless of everything. Naruto himself was put off by the statement, with a hand instantly gripping his Bakken to draw it out at the first sign of an attack, and his red soul was still pulsing. He thought that he could trust Sans fully like Papyrus, but now the blonde wasn't so sure anymore. There was even a disturbing thought in his mind that Sans might have killed some of the humans before they fell into the underground, making him all the more tense around the skeleton. Sans stood there silently before turning to smile at them. Lighten up, buckos, I was just joking. I beg to differ, thought Naruto, gradually letting go of the Bakken, but his body is still tense with Frisk peeking over Naruto's shoulders. And besides, haven't I been protecting you three this whole time? You never died even one, said Sans, causing Naruto to look at him in alarm. What's with the look? I'm simply stating facts. Could he know of the save ability? Him even saying that must mean that there's more to it than we know, thought Naruto. Well, that's all. Sans proceeded to walk away before pausing for a moment and turning to face them with his usual grin. You better take care of yourselves, kiddos, 'cause someone really cares about you. Then he left with the children sitting there in silence. Frisk finally spoke up, do we keep going, Naruto? Yeah, let's head for the core, but be ready for anything, said Naruto. The trio made their way out of the restaurant and into the lobby, where they took a moment to muse at the Mettaton statue at the fountain, then making a stop at the MTT brand burger emporium to buy some food before exiting through the north path towards the core. However, they noticed a pair of silhouettes up ahead entering the core as well. I wonder who they are, Frisk wondered. I don't know, but we need to be careful, said Naruto. The group went along the bridge into the core and were quick to take note that their environment had changed drastically. It appears to be a rather high-tech place with multicolored neon tubes to serve as wall decorations. The floors are engraved with intricate patterns, and no doubt that there's a lot more to see deeper inside. Frisk's phone started ringing, which she answered for Alphys to speak to them. Hello, Alphys. Now that you're at the core, take the elevator in front of you to reach up to the top, said Alphys. Roger that. Naruto went to push the button for the elevator doors to open, but it didn't work. He pressed the button a few more times but didn't get any kind of response. Alphys, the elevator isn't working. It isn't? But it should be working. Then try the right door and keep going straight. The trio complied with the direction and went through the right path, only to come upon an obstruction in the form of a fiery pit. Alphys, this way is blocked too, said Frisk with concern. But this isn't on my map. Let's try the left path and hope it's the right way. They backtracked into the main lobby and went through the left path. This time there was a clear route to the next area. The trio hardly took a few steps forwards when a black silhouette leapt out from the shadows and began to attack them. It turned out to be a monster with the appearance of a stereotypical wizard, wearing a curved hat, a pair of boots and two rotating orbs emitting cross-shaped particles. Thai quickly used check to identify the monster as magic, which could only speak in magic words. They had to watch out for the orbs, which would attack them by either firing magic crosses or deploying homing orbs, with Naruto using his Bakken to knock the latter away from him and Frisk. Nikken revealed the monster's weakness by snarling at the orbs, which incapacitated them, giving the group a chance to run away from magic. Alphys called immediately after their escape, are you all okay? We're fine. We were able to get away, said Frisk. But I don't understand why there are so many monsters in the core. No matter, we should just keep moving forward. I think I should keep my Bakken out of the sheath for now, said Naruto as they ended the call. Things got even trickier compared to before. First was when Naruto and the others came upon a bridge which was blocked off by a force field. Alphys informed them that flipping the SWCH nearby will deactivate the force field but also send a group of lasers towards them. She told them of the order that the lasers would come being orange, orange, blue. But when they flipped the SWCH, the order was rather blue, blue, orange. They barely avoided the majority of the lasers but still got hurt and had to consume some monster candy to recover, with the scientist apologizing for what happened. Second was when they arrived at a crossroads with a path leading north and the other continuing east. Alphys was feeling unsure due to the route again not matching the one on her map and suggested that they take the north path. The trio complied but ended up at a dead end where a monster laid in wait for them. This monster resembles that of a stereotypical knight as it wields a morning star in hand and was known as Night Knight. This monster had a lot of power which made things rather difficult. It was fortunate when Naruto's phone began playing a song to signal a notification which lulled the monster to sleep and allowed them to escape, then take the east path. Things continued to go against them as they came upon another bridge with many blue and orange lasers moving about, followed by a massive wall of blue lasers. There was no way they could bypass this on their own. Alphys quickly moved in to help by turning off the lasers, but it wasn't working, so she decided to cut the power for the entire area for the children to cross the bridge. Naruto and the others were halfway across the bridge when the power suddenly came back on and reactivated the lasers, forcing them to stop in place within the wall of lasers. Alphys discovers that she can't keep the power off and so advises them to move then stop when the power turns back on. Naruto and Frisk carrying Nikken followed the instruction and were able to cross the bridge without getting hurt before moving on to the next area. "What do you think is happening, Naruto?" asked Frisk worriedly. "I don't know exactly, but it seems like someone has changed the entire layout of the core and is messing with anything that Alphys tries to do to help us," said Naruto thoughtfully. "Do you think it's Mettaton?" "So far, everything seems to point to him. Best we be careful here." Frisk nodded in affirmation. "Okay." They reached a four-way intersection where there's a save point in the middle for them to access. The air is filled with the smell of ozone. It fills you with determination. Save. Yes/no. Frisk was quick to call Alphys for directions, hoping that she could help in this one. "Alphys, can you tell us where to go from here?" "Okay, you should. Why you should?" Alphys trailed off, not knowing what to say. "Alphys?" asked Frisk worriedly. "I don't know, this doesn't look like my map at all. I'm sorry, I have to go." She ended the call. "I guess we're on our own this time," said Naruto. "So, what do we do?" "Let's check around the area for clues which could give us ideas of where to go." The children didn't have to look too far as they came across some signs on the wall informing them that the northern path is the warrior's path, the west is the sage's path, while the east leads to the end, but the first two paths all lead to the end. Naruto hummed in thought. So, the warrior's path is about testing one's physical capabilities while the sage's path focuses on knowledge, with the end meaning an exit from the core. "So which path do we take?" asked Frisk. "Let's look for the end path first." They took the east path, which had them walking along a pathway above an ozone thick to the point that they cannot see the bottom before continuing north to reach the next intersection where they saw the east path barred by a force field, which meant that it was the end route with a nearby sign even confirming it. "Frisk-chan, I want you and Nikken to wait here while I take the warrior's path, which is north of here," said Naruto, much to the girl and wolf pup's surprise and worry. "But why not together?" asked Frisk. Nikken whined in agreement. "Out of all of us, I'm the most physically attuned and trained, so I should be able to handle what lies ahead, plus I don't want either of you getting hurt too," Naruto explained. "Okay, but please be careful." "I will." Naruto began his way along the northern path to a bridge which he proceeded to cross, but he began encountering monsters that appeared to attack him, with some which resembled the ones he and Frisk saw back at the ruins, like Whimsalot, Final Frogget and Astigmatism. Even Magic and Night Knight made a return, but he was ready for them as he knew how to incapacitate them. Soon he reached the end of the bridge and came upon a control panel with a red SWCH in the wall. Naruto flipped the SWCH and a few moments later received a call from Frisk. "Naruto, the force field has turned off," said Frisk. "Great, Then I'll be making my way B. Naruto trailed off in mid-sentence. Naruto, are you there? Yeah, just that another monster has appeared, like Naruto said. There was a black silhouette waiting for him at the end of the bridge and his soul was practically thumping against his chest. I'm gonna have to call you back. Oh okay, said Frisk unsurely before ending the call. Naruto crossed the bridge, noting that the monster backed away from the bridge and went to stand at a larger area to wait for him. He soon got across and cautiously approached the figure to get a clearer view of who it is. The monster appears to be a female humanoid about his height as she wears a dress with the delta rune on it, a red cape with a long curved hood which conceals her hair save for a curl sticking out from under it, a red bow at the neck, and a pair of white knee-high boots with heels and gloves. Naruto also took note that she was also wearing a pure white porcelain mask. Hello, my name is Naruto. What's yours? Asked Naruto politely. The monster didn't reply. Well, are you by any chance a member of the Royal Guard? So, what brought you all the way out here? Naruto was feeling rather uncomfortable with the silence and the stare from the monster in front of him. What's with you? The monster finally spoke up, albeit annoyed. Naruto blinked in confusion. What do you mean? Just straight up trying to start up a polite conversation while in battle? I mean, who does that? But I'm not looking for a fight and I have no reason for that, said Naruto, trying to calm the monster. You know what? If you don't want to fight, she suddenly brandished a saber and pointed it at Naruto with his soul practically leaping out of his chest and pulsing strongly. I'll have to make you. Something at the back of Naruto's mind screamed at him to jump backwards, which he did just as the monster swung her saber in an arc, and the ground where he stood sliced open and a wall of energy shot up for a moment before dissipating. Whoa, Naruto was taken aback with what he just saw and sweat dripped down his forehead. I've never been gladder that Frisk and Nikken aren't here with me. Naruto used check to learn more about the female monster before him while trying to figure out a way to avoid fighting her. Rude baby Red, if you're not gonna fight, Red is going to have to make you fight. Tell me something I don't know, Naruto thought with a roll of his eyes as he faced Red. Look, please calm D-. You think I haven't heard of you already, said Red. A new world has been opened up for us. I've never been so excited. Bark bark, arf arf. What a bunch of nonsense. Naruto's eyes widened in recognition as he remembered who said those words, the Dogi couple, Doggo and Lesser Dog. Naruto snapped into focus as he saw Red throw a bomb at him and slashed rapidly to make those magic walls like before. He jumped in between the spaces before they rose and saw the bomb being boxed in one of the spaces before exploding, giving him an idea of what would happen if he gets trapped in a space along with a bomb. You're a human, you and the other human are the final keys to our freedom. Red declared as she rushed up to Naruto and moved out her saber to stab him. The blonde barely parried the blade with his Bakken and redirected her attack to the side before taking on the Gale form stance. Red was upon him once more and attacked with a barrage of thrusts and slashes whilst Naruto was deflecting them just as rapidly in succession but was being pressured until she leapt back to glare at him through her mask. I won't let you get away, not when we're so close. Red stretched an arm out to summon large spinning gears before launching them towards Naruto, who was forced to move out of the way, especially since there's no way he could physically deflect those ones. Then quickly deflected plus shaped slash attack from Red and moving away to create some distance away from her. She may be different from Undyne, but some of her attacks are too much for me to handle head on, thought Naruto. Then he recalled something with his father's voice echoing in his mind. As much as the Gale form is helpful in combat, there will be times where you would face enemies whose physical capabilities far surpass that of your own. Hence you need to be nimble to avoid both damage and recoil altogether while at the same time repositioning yourself to inflict critical damage upon the enemy. To be anywhere and everywhere, such is the storm form. In simple terms, you can't hit what isn't there to begin with. Chuckles. Naruto smiled sadly at the memory before snapping into focus and taking on a new stance as he stood with legs slightly apart while holding the Bakken in one hand, pointing diagonally towards the ground. So, you have finally decided to fight back? Asked Red. Naruto took note of her tone of voice. Not at all, I won't fight. Naruto's left eye began glowing with a white flaming aura. Red growled in annoyance, you're so infuriating. she dashed towards Naruto and slashed rapidly with her saber, but Naruto proceeded to evade the incoming attacks via sidesteps and dodge rolls before somersaulting over a move attack and landing with a roll behind her. "Why, you can be as much of a sweetheart as you want, but it's not going to change anything," said Red. Naruto blushed at what she said. "Me a sweetheart? I didn't know I was being like that." "Oh really? You trying to say that you aren't aware that you're obsessed with becoming friends with anyone you meet while risking your very life?" "It's not like that." Naruto protesting before darting away from the spinning gears launched at him by Red until they dissipated after some time. "Why even bother doing this? You're just going to get yourself and the other human killed." "You're wrong, I promised to protect Frisk and Nikken no matter what," said Naruto with a frown. Red tossed several bombs and slashes about to raise some magical walls. Naruto rolled into a space to avoid getting hit but realized that there was a bomb inside with him. He quickly crossed his arms and braced himself right as the bomb exploded. The smoke dissipated to reveal that his body was shrouded in a white aura which reduced the amount of damage by a bit with the magic walls fading away. "If you continue this route, you will break the hearts of all those monsters you have befriended the moment you die," said Red angrily. Hearing those words actually made Naruto pause in thought. He realized that she made a valid point. He and Frisk had befriended so many monsters since their journey began through the underground, coming to care for them and vice versa. Should either of them die, he couldn't imagine the kind of sorrow they would feel. Naruto shook his head and turned to Red. "Then I just have to protect Frisk-chan even fiercer than before and not let ourselves get killed." "And you think you can do that by not fighting?" "Yes." Naruto leapt out of the way to avoid a charging stab from an angered Red who turned to pursue the blonde. "You're so naive. If being smart means hurting those who are innocent, then I'll choose to remain naive for the rest of my life." Naruto backflipped away from a diagonal slash before dashing sideways from a vertical uppercut. Red's grip on her saber trembled with emotion. "Why?" She sent spinning gears at him only to miss the target, but he didn't attack. "Why won't you fight back?" She unleashed a barrage of high-speed slashes with Naruto taking evasive actions to dodge a majority of them while getting some scratches but remained defensive. "Why won't you fight?" Naruto readied himself as Red launched even more gears and this time creating the magic walls in combination for the gears to ricochet of the solid surfaces and making dodging even harder for Naruto. He continued to avoid the gears the best he could when he felt something descending from above and rolled to the side right as Red stabbed where he once stood and quickly raised his Bokken to block the saber of an angered monster. "Why won't you fight back?" Red yelled in frustration. "Because you're not my enemy, you never were and never will be." Naruto yelled right back at her before being pushed away. Red raised her saber into the air for another attack with the blonde ready to react to whatever comes next. Then he noticed that her hand was shaking before collapsing to her knees on the ground and the saber clattering next to her. I hate this. I hate this so much." Red yelled out, almost bursting into tears. Naruto lowered his Bokken and cautiously approached Red who made no sign of wanting to fight anymore then called out to her, What's the matter?" Red let out a tired sigh before speaking calmly. "When I first heard of your arrival from the K9 unit in Snowdin it scared me. Not for my safety, mind you that I don't see myself a terrible fighter, but because all the things they said about you were positive, they all considered you and the other human as friends." Naruto remained silent to let her continue talking albeit smiling that they still like him, Frisk and Nikken. "I was actually terrified that you would befriend me as well," said Red. Naruto frowned at that. "Why would you be scared of being befriended by Frisk and I?" "The thing is that no human has ever made it past Askari ever since he redeclared war on humanity. 6 humans that fell here were reduced to 6 human souls and I felt that you too would be no different. If you were kind to me only to be killed by our king." Red looked down at the ground in depression. "I don't know what I would do. I didn't want to lose anyone else." "She must have lost people very dear to her just like me," thought Naruto sadly. "So I did everything to shut you out. I refused to like you. And then, you appeared." Red raised her head to look at Naruto, revealing to have taken off her mask and pulled down her hood to reveal short pink curly hair and a pair of dog ears atop her head, showing concern to me, "and I'm sure you would have been asking other things about me. God, I would have hated every minute of it." And you know what? What? Asked Naruto curiously. Forcing yourself to hate someone, Red crossed her arms and puffed up her cheeks, it sucks. Like wow, what a lousy way to live. That's true, said Naruto, trying to hold back on his laughter upon seeing Red pouting so cutely like that. Red began fidgeting shyly, so, thanks for being so patient with me and, sorry for trying to slice you open. I guess. These kinds of things happen. Naruto simply nodded as he sat cross-legged before Red after sheathing his Bakken and his left eye having long since returned to normal. It's okay, Frisk, and I understand where you and the other monsters are coming from. So, are you okay now? I can say that I feel a lot better, only just really hungry. Panicking with a sword can really take a lot out of you, said Red nervously. The blonde chuckled, that's true, hold on a minute. Naruto reached into his waist pack to bring out a glam burger and a CT, which he split the latter in half, handing both over to Red. Hole took them gratefully. Oh nice, thanks a bunch. She happily ate the food and drink. Naruto looked at Red's dog ears and had a thought, if she has dog ears then I wonder. He quickly took out his Bakken and threw it into the air. Fetch. Arf arf arf. Red excitedly got to her feet, all the while barking before jumping to catch the Bakken with her teeth before returning it to with a look of pride. Did you see that? That's some MTT level skill right there. Indeed I did, awesome catch. Red never felt any prouder. Naruto smiled, but then he remembered what he needs to do right now. Sorry Red-chan, but I need to be on my to meet up with Frisk-chan and Nikken so we can resume our journey. You're leaving already? Red looked surprised and rather sad to hear of his departure. I guess you have places to be and kings to meet. Naruto nodded, yeah. Askari is our king for a reason. Him being strong doesn't mean that he's mean. I'm sure you two can be friends with him just like you're friends with me. I'm happy to hear that you see me as a friend. I hope you could be friends with Frisk-chan and Nikken. No doubt that they would be happy about that. Naruto stood up and patted the dirt off his clothes. I hope to see you again. He turned to leave but then felt something pull at his brief leg. Naruto looked back to see that it was Red holding his brief leg. What is it? Don't actually kill anyone please. If you do, I'll be so peeved, said Red with a pout. Naruto chuckled with a foxy grin. No need to worry Red-chan, I haven't killed anyone since the beginning and I don't plan on stopping that. Red smiled upon hearing that. Good, that's what I'd like to hear. Bye then. Yeah, see you later. Naruto began making his way back to Frisk with Red waving goodbye. He soon met up with them and felt guilty upon seeing the look of worry on Frisk's face and Nikken bounding over to leap into his arms while whining. Are you okay? Asked Frisk worriedly. Yeah, I'm doing okay. I was able to come to terms with the monster and we're friends now. I'm sure you would like her, said Naruto. Her, you mean a girl monster? Asked Frisk. Yeah, she's nice and can also be scarily strong too, said Naruto, having not noticed Frisk pouting. Anyways, the path is open so we move forward now. Okay, Frisk followed after Naruto with a small frown. Why is it that every time Naruto talks to a girl or they come too close to him, I feel this prickling feeling in my heart? I'm not getting sick, am I? Catching up to Naruto, the trio made their way across a bridge hanging over a thick cloud of ozone to the other side, where they came upon a doorway outlined with flashing neon lights as well as an elevator which is currently out of order. There was a save point for Naruto to access as well as heal both himself and Frisk. Behind this door must be the elevator to the king's castle. You are filled with determination. Save. Yes/no. Upon confirming the save, they went through the doorway to find themselves in a dark room. There they saw Mettaton at the center as if waiting for them. Oh, there you are, darlings. You are finally here, which means it is finally time to stop the malfunctioning robot, not? Mettaton declared. What do you mean? Asked Frisk curiously. Malfunction, reprogramming. Get real, all this was just a big show. Alphys has been playing you all for fools all this time. All this time, you have been pretending to malfunction? Asked Naruto. Indeed, for you see, Alphys grew attached to your adventure as she watched you two and desperately wanted to be a part of it. That is when she decided to insert herself into your story by reactivating puzzles, disabling elevators and enlisting me to torment you so as to save you from dangers that do not exist. All this to make you think that she is a great person whom she's not, and now is the time for her finest hour where she awaits outside this room to swoop in to the rescue by disabling me and saving you one last time, hence becoming the heroine of your story all so she could convince you not to leave the underground. That explains so much. I had always found these puzzles and traps to be strange. Alphys must have set this all up before we arrived at the laboratory, but what was her true goal in deceiving us besides trying to have us remain her, said Naruto with a small frown in thought of everything till now. Then Mettaton spoke up, but you see, I've grown rather tired of this predictable charade. But you needn't worry about me trying to harm humans, I actually wish to entertain. Also an audience deserves a good show, and what kind of show would it be without a plot twist? Suddenly they heard the sound of a door locking behind Mettaton and someone began banging against it and Alphys' voice could be heard. Hey. WH what's going on, said Alphys confusedly. I have a bad feeling about this Naruto, said Frisk with concern. I know, we need to be very careful here, said Naruto, his body already tensed for anything and Nikken stood next to him to help them both. Sorry folks, the old show has been cancelled. But we've got a finale that will drive you wild. Mettaton declared as the floor lit up in red neon lights before rising into the air. Real drama. Real action. Real bloodshed. On our new show, Naruto and Frisk braced themselves as their souls emerged from their bodies, Attack of the Killer Robot. Tell me Mettaton, was it you who changed the layout and traps in the core or it was Alphys? Asked Naruto as he unsheathed his Bakken and took a stance with Frisk and Nikken staying close to him. Oh yes darling, I was the one who rearranged the layout, reactivated the traps and hired everyone to kill you. Though I must admit that it was a rather short-sighted plan, what better way to acquire the souls than to kill you by beauteous myself. I hope this works. Frisk took out her phone with the color of her soul changing to yellow before firing yellow bullets at Mettaton only for them to bounce off of him. Sorry darling, but that pea shooter won't do a thing. I was merely acting like it hurts before, said Mettaton in amusement. I was afraid of this, said Naruto with a frown, just why do you want our souls? To give them to Ascari. Oh dear me no, I've seen you two fight and I fear that you won't stand a chance against Ascari and he will use your souls to destroy humanity. But if I get your souls, I can disrupt Ascari's plan and prevent the destruction of humanity. Also, I get to be a superstar with hundreds, no thousands of humans gazing upon my beauty and style. But people would still be killed, said Frisk with concern. So, what if some humans die? It's showbiz baby. All the more reason for us to not get killed. We won't allow either you or Ascari to take our souls, said Naruto with his left eye glowing with the white fiery aura of determination. Frisk's phone began to ring for her to answer it. Hello? I can see what's going on in there but don't give up. Said Alphys. But what can we do? Nothing works on him, said Naruto, watching Mettaton continue with his monologue and not paying them any attention at the moment. Actually there is, but it was a work in progress. Do you notice how Mettaton always faces forward? Naruto thought back and realized that Mettaton had never once turned his back to them, always moving around while facing them. Yeah, I recall. That's because there's a SWCH on his backside. If you can turn him around and press the SWCH then he'll become, vulnerable. Well, I gotta go. Said Alphys before ending the call. So, how do we make Mettaton turn around? Asked Frisk. Naruto hummed in thought, glancing at the robot who was still in his monologue and suddenly snapped his fingers as an idea came to him. I got it, I know how to get him to turn around. Really, how? Just watch, Naruto then called out, Hey Mettaton. Yes darling, asked Mettaton. I just wanted to let you know that a mirror has just been put up behind you, said Naruto, pretending to look past the robot at a non-existent mirror. Oh a mirror. How convenient. I need to look perfect for our grand finale. Mettaton turned around, exposing the SWCH to the children. I don't see the mirror, where is it? Now. Naruto rushed for Metatons and pressed the SWCH before quickly jumping back, made it. Way to go, Naruto, said Frisk happily. Metaton stood there frozen until finally speaking up, did you just flip my SWCH? Naruto quirked an eyebrow in response, yeah. No sooner he said that, Metaton grabbed head and began shaking rapidly while making loud beeping sounds before releasing a bright flash of light which forced the children and wolf pup to close their eyes to avoid being blinded. VOICEOVER, a deep sultry voice echoed all throughout the room. Suddenly spotlights lowered down from the ceiling and shone their light into a thick fog. Naruto and Frisk looked at the fog and could make out what appears to a black silhouette in the shape of a human. Oh my, bye. Flipping my SWCH, it could only mean one thing. You are desperate for the premiere of my new body, said the voice. New body, could that be? Naruto realized who it is in the fog despite the change in the tone of voice. How rude of you two, but to be honest, I've been wanting to show off this body for a long time. So, as a reward for this I will make sure that your last living moments. The fog finally dissipated to reveal Metaton's newly transformed body. He now has humanoid body, sporting black hair with a long fringe that seems to cover his right eye, pale skin and visible metal segments below and above his left eye. Metaton has a pink chest piece, a narrow metallic waist with a box contraption containing his monster soul, black shoulder pads above his segmented arms which end in gloves, and long black-clad legs ending in pink high-heeled boots. Are absolutely appealing, said Metaton. Naruto, I think things have gotten a bit more difficult, said Frisk. I was thinking the same thing, said Naruto. Like always, Naruto and Frisk's souls emerged from their bodies to signal a battle as they used check for any change in information concerning Metaton and were fortunate to see so. His weak point is his heart-shaped core. Music began playing in the background as Metaton started to tap his feet to the beat before moving about in a dance-like manner while striking stylish poses along the way. Naruto and Frisk took note of a large TV screen hanging above the which was displaying a show rating meter. Lights. Camera. Action. Metaton leapt towards the children and wolf pup with a stylish jump kick. Watch out. Naruto called out in alert. They quickly moved out of the way with Metaton targeting Naruto, attacking him with numerous punches and kicks all the while being stylish about it. Naruto was dodging the attacks the best he could but made a costly mistake that allowed Metaton to successfully land a kick to the stomach and send the blonde tumbling away from the robot. Naruto. Frisk tried to make her way over to him with Nikken but ended up drawing the attention of the robot. Drama. Romance. Bloodshed. Metaton went on to deploy mini-Metatons with umbrellas to glide towards Frisk and Nikken, throwing heart-shaped projectiles at them. They dodged as hard as they could but still got hit by some of the attacks and falling to the ground. I'm the idol everyone craves. You better start picking up darlings, lest this show will be a short one. Naruto shook his head while getting up on a knee to look at Metaton. That hurt. I kinda wish that I didn't flip that SWCH, huh? He noticed that when Frisk and Nikken got hit, the ratings suddenly rose. Wait, does this battle have something to do with how our actions affect the ratings? Wanting to test something out, Naruto reached into his waistpack and took out a glamberg, then ate it to heal himself, which caused the ratings to increase quite a bit with the audience cheering in approval. So. That's it, this gives me an idea. Hey Metaton. Naruto called out to catch said robot's attention. Let's try this again. He then struck a pose with a smirk. Much to Frisk's confusion, Metaton took note of the ratings increasing in reaction to the blonde's pose. Very well darling, smile for the camera. Metaton went in to attack Naruto, whose left eye glowed with determination. He weaved in and out of the attacks and taking note that Metaton's attacks are akin to that of dance moves, so he just needs to fight fire with fire. He managed to evade the attacks and got himself to Frisk. Are you two okay? Here, take these. Naruto handed over a glamberg to Frisk and Nikken ate cinnamon bun to recover, with Naruto noting the ratings increasing again. Naruto, why were you dancing around? Asked Frisk confusedly. Because I managed to figure out that this battle is like a show, the ratings react to whatever we do. Naruto explained, helping Frisk to her feet. So, what happens when we increase the ratings? Don't know, but we'll see what happens at that time. I don't know if I can do this, I'm really shy. Frisk looked down in embarrassment. Of course you can, I believe in you, said Naruto with a smile, and Nikken barked in agreement, filling Frisk with confidence and determination. Mettaton called out to them, "Oh, it's time for a pop quiz. I hope you brought a keyboard, this one's an essay question." Naruto and Frisk received prompts on their phone which asked the question, "What do you like most about Mettaton?" They thought for a moment before typing on their keypads to send their response. For Naruto, it was dancing, and Frisk chose personality. Wonderful. Amazing. A plus, I am completely stunning, said Mettaton happily. Your essay really showed everyone your heart. Why don't I show you mine? The panels on Mettaton's waist opened up for his pink core to emerge and float around while shooting lightning bolts in a circular blast formation, keeping the children from getting any closer to it. Frisk took a look at the core, then her phone, before having a thought. I wonder if. She aimed at the core and fired a yellow bullet which seemed to have an effect this time compared to previous attempts. It works. She continued to fire at the core whilst avoiding the lightning bolts, but several mini Mettatons appeared to attack her. Naruto quickly stepped in front of her to deflect the heart-shaped projectiles with his Bakken until the core returned to Mettaton. Naruto then had an idea. Hey Frisk-chan, since it's a show, then let's change our looks to fit in. Okay Naruto. The children used their phones to access the dimensional boxes and bring out the items they could use for the battle. Naruto took off his goggles to put on the manly bandana and donned the tough gloves. Frisk wore the old tutu and ballet shoes. This caused the ratings to further increase. Those really look good on you, said Naruto with a smile. Frisk looked away with her cheeks tinged pink and smiled shyly. Thank you, you also look nice too. Alright then, let's put on one heck of a show. Naruto struck a pose by taking on a fighting stance, and Frisk followed suit by imitating a pose like those ballerinas she saw on TV, and Nikken stood in front of them while trying to look as intimidating as it could, making the audience cheer loudly in response and increasing the ratings. Oh, I'm just warming up. Mettaton sent more miniature copies of himself to attack the children and Wolf Pup. Frisk took to shooting them down with her phone whilst Naruto utilized his Gale form to deflect the incoming projectiles with his Bakken, and Nikken was running about and tackling the mini Mettatons to drive them back from the two. I see you've got some moves, but how are you on the dance floor? A disco ball lowered down from the ceiling and began to project laser beams in either blue or white. Naruto and the others took to avoiding the white beams and remaining still for the blue beams to pass through them without getting hurt, and Frisk discovered that shooting at the disco ball would make the beams switch between the two colors. Not bad Mettaton, but your attacks won't be able to land on us, said Naruto with a smirk, really getting into this battle/show. Mettaton smiled in response to the challenge. In that case, let's see if you keep up the pace. The speed of the laser beams from the disco ball increased, making the children move faster to defend against them as Frisk shot at the disco ball to change the colors of the beams which they wouldn't be able to avoid. In time until disco ball turned off. Most impressive. How about this? Lights. Camera. Bombs. Mettaton snapped his fingers to make a cluster of black spherical bombs with pink plus signs on them fall down from above towards the children. Frisk shot at one of the bombs with her phone, but they had to move out of the way when it exploded into a plus-shaped blast. Upon being shot, things are blowing up. He made more bombs fall from above. I don't think I can shoot them all, said Frisk worriedly. And I can't risk deflecting them with my Bakken since I'm likely to get myself blown up, said Naruto with a small frown. Suddenly he felt his soul pulse and something was enticing him to reach into his waist pack, which he did, and took out the cowboy hat and empty gun. Wait, these are He noticed that his soul has changed its color from red to yellow and the empty gun doesn't feel empty anymore, making him realize what's going on. Frisk was trying to shoot the bombs as fast as she could before they drew any closer, then she heard gunshots from behind her and the other bombs were being shot down. She turned around to see Naruto now wearing the cowboy hat and holding the empty gun in hand while the Bakken was put away, and his soul is now yellow like hers. Naruto? Asked Frisk. Naruto tipped his hat with a smirk. Well, howdy do, ma'am. But how are you able to use it? I don't really know myself, but I'm not complaining. now to keep the ball rolling. Mettaton smirked at this new development, which is no doubt raising the ratings of the show. We've grown so distant, darlings, how about another heart-to-heart? He let out his core once more, and this time, it was surrounded by white squares marked with black circles orbiting around it like a shield. Let's get those things out of the way so we can go after the core, said Naruto. Frisk nodded in affirmation. Okay. The children began shooting at the boxes to destroy them and target the core, but at the same time had to watch out for the lightning bolt projectiles launched their way. The mini Metatons would glide down on their umbrellas to attack as well, but Naruto ensured to shoot them down as well before they got the chance to attack. Never has he been so grateful for all those trips to the arcade to be able to shoot accurately. They landed enough shots on the core to make Metaton's arms fall off before returning to its containment. Guess we aren't so weak now that you've lost your arms, said Naruto, striking a pose by twirling the empty gun with a finger and blowing off an imaginary smoke off the muzzle. Maybe you can stop now, Frisk suggested, wanting the battle to end before anything bad happens. Metaton scoffed in response. Arms? Who needs arms with legs like these? I'm still going to win. With that said, he lunged at the duo and lashed out with multiple kicks at the same time deploying multiple mini Metatons to attack. Naruto had to be rather creative with his offense and defense, as he would block some of Metaton's kicks and shoot at the miniature copies of himself before finally rolling away from Metaton with Frisk and Nikken moving up next to him. You're really going for broke, aren't you? Asked Naruto. Why, of course, the show must go on. Metaton now sent a large number of bombs and white squares to overwhelm the group. Aim for the bombs, they'll destroy most of the white cubes, said Naruto with Frisk nodding in affirmation. They began to shoot at the bombs and making sure to avoid the plus-shaped explosions after hitting them, refusing to let themselves back down. How inspiring. Well, darlings. It's either me or you. But I think we both already know who's going to win. Witness the true power of humanity's star. Metaton's core emerged once more while surrounded by the white cubes and began to launch lightning bolts straight towards the children, at the same time attacking in close range with kicks. If you're going for it, then so will we. Frisk, go for the core while I keep Metaton at bay, said Naruto, unsheathing his Bakken to hold in one hand and the empty gun in the other. Frisk jumped back to build some distance to focus on the cubes and the core. Naruto took to utilizing the storm form to use his agility defensively to parry and evade the kicks, then helping Frisk the best he could to shoot down the cubes. Metaton lashed out with a spin kick when Naruto's left eye suddenly flashed and he jumped to place a foot on the leg, then propelled himself into the air, somersaulting several times before landing on the ground with a roll and striking a pose which caused the audience to roar in excitement and a crazy increase in the ratings. Metaton looked up to the screen to see that the ratings were practically through the roof and was quite vocal about it. Boo, look at these ratings. This is the most viewers I've ever had. We've reached the viewer call-in milestone. One lucky viewer will have the chance to talk to me before I leave the underground forever. Does it mean that the fight is over? Asked Frisk. I'm not too sure, said Naruto, remaining on guard in the meantime. Let's see who calls in first. They didn't have to wait as the phone began to ring for Metaton to answer. Hi, you're on TV. What do you have to say on this, our last show? Oh, hi Metaton, I really liked watching your show. My life is pretty boring, but seeing you on the screen brought excitement to my life vicariously. I can't tell, but I guess this is the last episode. I'll miss you Metaton. Oh, I didn't mean to talk so long. Oh. That sounded like Napstablook. I guess he was watching the show too along with the other monsters, said Naruto. He noticed the rather saddened look on Metaton's face as the caller hung up. No, wait. BLH, they already hung up. Metaton tried to cheer himself up. I'll take another caller. Many more monsters called with messages of their own. Metaton, your show made us so happy. Metaton, I don't know what I'll watch without you. Metaton, there's a Metaton-shaped hole in my Metaton-shaped heart. All these and more had Metaton feeling something different compared to what he was expecting. With a soft smile, he turned to speak to Naruto and Frisk. Darlings. Perhaps it might be better if I stay here a while. Humans already have stars and idols, but monsters, they only have me. If I left the underground would lose its spark. I'd leave an aching void that could never be filled. So I think I'll have to delay my big debut. Besides, you've proven to be very strong. Perhaps even strong enough to get past Ascari. I'm sure you'll be able to protect humanity. Naruto smiled as he put away the botken and empty gun. You can count on us, you just keep doing what you do best. You're the reason why the monsters continue to smile after all these years, Mettaton. They need you just as much as you need them, said Frisk. Mettaton chuckled as he collapsed with the children quickly checking on him. Haha, it's all for the best. The truth is, this form's energy consumption is inefficient. In a few moments, I'll run out of battery power, and well, I'll be alright. Knock 'em dead, darlings. And everyone thank you. You've been a great audience. Then his eyes dimmed, signaling that he has run out of power. Mettaton, Naruto muttered in silence, looking upon Mettaton's unmoving body with the platform lowering back down. The door behind them was unlocked and Alphys made her way inside. I managed to open the lock. Are you all? Oh my god. Mettaton. Alphys ran over to check on the state of the robot. Mettaton, are you? A closer look led to her letting out a breath of relief. Thank God, it's just the batteries. Mettaton, if you were gone, I would have I am mean. Hey, it's no problem, you know. He's just a robot. If you messed it up, I see could always just build another. Mettaton is more than just a robot and he's a close friend of yours, Frisk pointed out to the royal scientist. Why don't you go on ahead? I need a moment to myself, said Alphys. Naruto nodded in understanding. Okay, they both went through the door ahead to go through a hallway. Soon Alphys caught up to them, albeit looking nervous. Sorry about that, let's keep em moving, said Alphys. The walk through the hallway was a rather awkward one given that neither knew exactly how to begin a conversation given the tension between them. I guess that why you must be pretty excited to meet Ascari and finally go home. Yeah, I'm just hoping that we can reason with him and avoid any fights, said Naruto with Frisk nodding in agreement. They arrived at the elevator and pressed the button to open the doors and were about to enter when Alphys called out to them. Wait. I just want to say goodbye and, she trailed off not knowing what else to say. Is there something wrong, Alphys? Asked Frisk concerned. I can take this anymore. Alphys turned away with her back to them, sighing sadly. I lied to you. A human soul alone isn't strong to cross the barrier. It takes at least a human soul and a monster soul. So, what does that mean? Asked Naruto. If you want to go home, you will have to take his soul. You will have to kill Ascari. Exclamation point. They were stunned speechless upon hearing this revelation. The only way to leave the underground is to kill the king of monsters and take his soul. This ultimatum is like a slap to the face after everything they've gone through to avoid killing innocent monsters up to this point. I'm sorry, Alphys quickly left with feelings of shame and guilt. Naruto, what should we do now? Asked Frisk unsurely. I don't know. Let's keep going, said Naruto, appearing rather lost due to the revelation told to them. Naruto and Frisk, along with Nikken, entered the elevator with minds still reeling from what they were just told. Naruto, Frisk and Nikken stood silently in the rising elevator, still reeling from the news which has been dropped on them by Alphys before they had parted ways. As they drew close to the barrier, they had learnt that it requires both a human soul and a monster soul in order to cross, meaning that they would have to kill Ascari in order to attain a monster soul. It is without question the children and Wolf Pup aren't liking this in the least bit and had to learn of this when they were so close. Naruto, what are we going to do? Asked Frisk unsurely. Naruto shook his head in response. I really don't know, Frisk-chan. I'm trying to come up with ways to bypass this issue, but I'm getting any good ideas right now. Oh. We'll just have to find a way to do something about this without killing anyone. The elevator soon reached its stop and opened the doors for the children and Wolf Pup to exit out of and found themselves in a grey corridor, and everywhere was rather silent. There was a nearby save point for Naruto to access and heal from their recent battle against Mettaton. Continuing on their way, they were greeted with the view of a large city below them. This must be the new home I read about back in the snowed-in library, said Frisk. Yeah, though it feels kinda bleak, different from the other place we've been to. I can say snowed-in is the most cheerful place of all of them, said Naruto thoughtfully. They continued along the path till reaching the end and stood before something which came as a surprise. Before them is a near-perfect copy of Toriel's home back in the ruins, the only difference is that the house is colored gray just like the city they're in. It looks just like Toriel's home, said Frisk in shock. Yeah, I was expecting the king to live in a castle. I wonder why, said Naruto. Nikken scampered over to the door and pawed at it before barking at them. Might as well go inside, we would learn more than out here. Okay Naruto. They went inside and found that the interior was just as similar save for a small chain blocking the way to the basement, and closer observation reveals that they need 2 keys in order to unlock it. Naruto and Frisk figured that they could start by checking the living room and kitchen. No sooner they entered that a pair of froggets appeared but showed no sign of aggression but rather began to speak. A long time ago, a human fell into the ruins. Injured by its fall, the human called out for help, then the monsters went away after speaking. Confused, the group went on to the kitchen where they found a key and a note next to it which said, "Howdy. Help yourself to anything you want." Albeit reluctantly, Frisk took the key and attacked it to her phone's keychain before they left the kitchen, where they encountered a pair of Whimsun that spoke to them. Asriel, the king's son, heard the human's call. He brought the human back to the castle. What could they be talking about? Asked Frisk confusedly. I don't know for sure, but it could have something to do with what happened in the past before we came, Naruto speculated. They went on to the children's room where they found a heart-shaped locket where the words, "Best friends forever," were inscribed at the back and a worn dagger. Despite wanting to them alone, something was pushing the children to take them along, which they eventually did. Their next stop was the room, but not before finding the second key on a table for Frisk to attack to her phone's keychain. Then a trio of molds Mal appeared to speak. Over time, Asriel and the human child became like siblings. The king and queen treated the human as their own, and the underground was full of hope. That sounds so nice, said Frisk with a smile. Naruto nodded in agreement but then frowned, but I get the feeling that something went wrong. Out of curiosity, the children went inside Ascaris and could tell that he lived a rather simple life and doesn't have that much belongings before leaving for the chain to unlock it and make their way down the stairs to traverse through the passage. Along the way, the monsters continued the story from earlier. Then one day the human became very ill and had only one request, to see the flowers from their village. But there was nothing we could do. The next day the human died. Asriel, racked with grief, absorbed the human's soul and transformed into a being with incredible power. With the human soul, Asriel crossed through the barrier whilst carrying the human's body into the sunset. Back to the village of the humans. Asriel arrived at the village where he found a bed of golden flowers and carried the human onto it. Golden flowers? Haven't we been seeing them every now and then on our way here? Asked Frisk. We have, we even landed on a bed of them. First was at the ruins and second was when Undyne chased us on the bridge, said Naruto in affirmation. Suddenly, screams rang out. The villagers saw Asriel carrying the human's body and thought that he had killed the child. The humans attacked him with everything they had. He was struck with blow after blow. Asriel had the power to destroy them all. But Asriel did not fight back. Clutching the human, Asriel smiled, and walked away. The children were stunned speechless from what they just heard. Naruto himself felt numb, a part of himself felt disgraced of being a human being attacking straight out of assumption and paranoia. It just isn't the right way to do things. He steeled himself and tried to listen to the remainder of the story whilst keeping an eye on Frisk, who was saddened greatly by this. Wounded, Asriel stumbled home, entering the castle and collapsed with his dust spread across the garden. The kingdom fell into despair. The king and queen had lost 2 children in one night. The humans had once again taken everything from us. Naruto and Frisk grimaced from the last sentence as if feeling guilty by association. At this point they had exited from the passage and went along an open pathway with a view of the city to their left. The king decided it was time to end our suffering. Every human who falls down here must die. With enough souls, we can shatter the barrier forever. They tried to look away from the gazes of the monsters as they passed by, to not see the eyes of hope. It's not long now, King Askari will let us go. King Askari will give us hope. King Askari will save us all. You should be smiling too. Aren't you excited? Aren't you happy? You're going to be free. Naruto, Frisk and Nikken were finally away from the monsters. Naruto took note that Frisk's shoulders were shaking. Frisk-chan, are you okay? Asked Naruto worriedly. Why did the humans have to do something so awful? Why couldn't they see or even ask? Just attack for no good reason at all. Frisk could barely hold back the tears as she spoke. Naruto wrapped an arm around Frisk and pulled her close to him, recalling his mom doing the same whenever he was feeling down so as to comfort him. Sometimes humans can be very smart and most at times very dumb, and this was one of their dumb moments. I feel ashamed to be a human at these times, but it takes a better portion of humans to overwrite this kind of stupidity. You need to do lots of good to make others think less of the bad, that's what my dad would say from time to time. Frisk sniffled a bit before smiling. Your dad must be a very nice person. Yeah, he was. Naruto smiled sadly. Arf. Nikken prodded at Naruto's leg with a paw to comfort him as well, getting a herd rub in return. The group reached the end of the path to come upon an elevator which was currently out of order, so they took the next route to their right. The children and Wolf Pup found themselves in a long corridor with a row of yellow stained glasses which the light shone through, giving the room a warm golden atmosphere. There was another save point for Naruto to access and were about to make their way to the other side when they heard footsteps and looked ahead to see someone appear from behind a pillar. Sans, said Frisk upon seeing who it is. So you both finally made it, said Sans stoically, making them feel a bit uncomfortable from the tone of his voice. The end of your journey is at hand. In a few moments, you will meet the king. Together you will determine the fate of our world. That's then, but now you will be judged. Judged, what do you mean by that? Asked Naruto confusedly. I mean exactly that, you will be judged for every action you took, judged for every EXP you've earned. EXP. But I don't think we earned any of that, said Frisk. It seems like you don't what EXP really means. It's actually an acronym which stands for execution points. A way of quantifying the amount of pain you have inflicted on others. If EXP stands for execution points, then what does LV stand for? Asked Naruto with growing worry. Love stands for level of violence, a way of measuring someone's capacity to hurt. The more you kill, the easier it becomes to distance yourself. The more you distance yourself, the less you hurt. The more easily you bring yourself to hurt others. If we had naively followed what Floey said or succumbed to resorting to killing the monsters, my god, thought Naruto, feeling sick at the thought of killing all those monsters without any kind of consideration. If we had killed the monsters, we wouldn't have gotten the chance to know how nice they really are. Papyrus, Undine, Toriel, Alphys. I'm so glad that we didn't listen to Floey or fought back violently, thought Frisk in relief. But you too, Sans spoke up, snapping them out of their thoughts. Neither of you gained any love, but it didn't mean you were innocent or naive either. You kept a certain kindness and understanding in your hearts. No matter the hardships and struggles you had faced, you both strived to do the right thing and not hurt anyone. Even when you ran away, it wasn't out of fear. You never gained any love but rather love. Does that make any sense? Naruto tilted his head with both arms crossed. Sort of, provided that the last one isn't an acronym. The skeleton simply shrugged his shoulders. Now you're about to face the greatest challenge of your entire journey. Your actions here will determine the fate of the entire world. How so? Asked Frisk curiously. If you refuse to fight, Askari will take your souls and destroy humanity. But if you kill Askari, monsters will remain trapped underground. What will you do? Neither Naruto nor Frisk had an answer to that question. Even Nikken simply sat down with his tail slumped on the ground and ears drooped. If I were you, I'd have thrown in the towel by now, but you didn't get this far by giving up, did you? Sans smirked at the children and wolf pup. That's right, you both have something called determination. So as long as you hold on, so as long as you do what's in your heart, I believe you can do the right thing. Naruto smiled in response. Thanks Sans, I think we needed to hear those words. Thank you, Sans, said Frisk in agreement. Alright then, we're all counting on you kiddos, said Sans before disappearing behind a pillar, leaving them alone in the corridor. Let's go Frisk-chan, said Naruto. Okay. Arf. Moving on ahead, they left the corridor through the next hallway where there was the final save point before a doorway leading to the throne room where the king awaits them. Steeling themselves for the encounter and attaining the final pieces to complete the puzzle, Naruto along with Frisk and Nikken went inside to find themselves in the throne room, which is mostly occupied with the golden flowers surrounding a throne, and someone was gently tending to them while happily humming a tone. The person was currently having his back turned to them, but they could tell that it was the king, given the golden pauldrons, royal purple cape, and the large pair of goat horns sticking out from his head. The king shifted upon hearing their footsteps. Oh, is someone there? Give me a moment while I finish watering these flowers. He completed doing just that before placing the watering can down and turning around. Howdy, how may I dash? Askari took a step back with a look of shock on his bearded face. The moment he set his eyes on the two children and the wolf pup, he focused more on Frisk than Naruto before snapping back into focus as he looked away. Oh, it wasn't difficult to see that Askari was having great difficulty finding the right thing to say in this situation. I very badly want to say, would you like a nice cup of tea, but you know how it is. We guess so, said Frisk, feeling rather awkward herself. Askari walked to the side and looked up to the skylight. Nice day we're having, huh? The birds are singing, the flowers are blooming, eh? Perfect day for a nice game of catch. Askari, we dash. Naruto began to talk. You know what we must do, follow me to the next when you're ready. Askari turned and left the throne room through the other door day before Naruto could say anything more. He wasn't expecting us to appear, almost as if it was the first time, said Naruto with a frown. What do you mean? Surely, he would have met the other humans before us, said Frisk. That's what I thought, but his reaction just now speaks differently. There's also the fact we had been gathering the belonging of the other humans throughout the underground. It means that they never made it to Askari and simply had their souls gathered by him. How do you know about this? My mom always said that I had inherited Dad's brains and I got her bronze and guts. Dad also giving me some training contributed to it. What I can definitely say right now is that Askari had never killed a human in spite of the rule he put up, said Naruto with a small frown. But Toriel thought he killed them, said Frisk. I don't think she knows the exact details and thought that way. Let's go after him. Naruto went through the door with the others following after him to find Askari waiting for them. My how tense, think of it as going to the dentist, said Askari with a small smile as he went through the hall before stopping at the doorway to look at them. Are you both ready? If not, I understand. I don't feel ready either. He stepped through the doorway, leaving them behind. Naruto took note of the save point next to the doorway and knew what it meant. This is the last place to save and there are none beyond this point. He accessed the save point before standing before the doorway with Frisk and Nikken standing beside him. They took in a deep breath and letting it out before going in. They stood behind Askari but could also see the barrier leading out to the surface towering ominously before them. This is the barrier, it is what traps us monsters underground. If by any chance there is something you need to do, now is the time. If not, then we shall begin, said Askari after a moment before snapping his fingers to make 7 capsules appear before the children with 6 of them containing the human souls. Naruto and Frisk felt their own souls pulse in reaction to being close to them. A strange light fills the room as twilight shines through the barrier. They could feel that their journey is merely inches to an end, but they remained ever more determined. Askari looked at the children and wolf pup with a sad smile on his face. Humans, it was nice to meet you. Then he looked down to the ground so as not to face them. Goodbye. He brandished a crimson-red trident and swung it to blow the wind into their faces as their souls emerged from their bodies to signal the beginning of the eventual battle. Naruto reluctantly tried to use check to learn something about Ascari only to discover that he lacks one. He reached for his sheathed Bakken but was finding it difficult to draw it out. Frisk looked at Ascari pleadingly, "Please Ascari, we don't want to fight you." Ascari's hands trembled slightly before swinging an arm, to launch a volley of fireballs with the children darting out of the way to avoid getting hit by them. Again, Naruto gripped his Bakken and still couldn't bring himself to do what needs to be done. "Ascari, we're not your enemies. We don't need to fight." Ascari's breath hitched for a moment before conjuring a ring of flames around Naruto and remotely controlling them to close in on him. Naruto looked around rapidly before taking a running start and jumped over the fiery ring before it engulfed him and landed safely from it. "Stop this please. We don't want to fight you." Frisk cried only for the king to stop for a moment before pointing his trident towards them yet again. "Why won't you listen to us?" He's forcing himself to fight us," said Naruto sadly. "But then, what do we do? The one thing that we don't want to do either. We'll have to fight him." Frisk looked at Naruto in shock. "You want us to fight him? Only enough damage to stop him from fighting anymore. I'll need you to attack with the worn dagger while I maintain his attention on me." Naruto finally unsheathed the Bakken and held it at the ready. "But, why can't you do it? Surely you could do it too." "Because Naruto looked down at his hands with an unreadable expression. "I don't trust myself to be able to do this." Frisk looked at Naruto for a moment before returning into her pocket and bringing out the worn dagger. "Okay Naruto, let's do it." "I'm really sorry to do this to you, Frisk-chan," said Naruto regrettably. Frisk smiled in understanding before they turned to face Ascari. The blonde steeled himself as his left eye blazed with determination to the point that his Bakken glowed gently. Ascari stabbed his trident to the ground before waving both hands to launch multiple large fireballs towards the children. Naruto stepped in front of Frisk and took on the stance of the Gale form before quickly deflecting the incoming fireballs away from them till Ascari stopped attacking for Frisk to swiftly rush up to him and strike with the worn dagger before moving away to avoid any kind of retaliation. The king groaned a bit in pain before sending waves of flames towards the children who took evasive actions to avoid getting burnt but were caught off guard when he appeared before them with his eyes flashing between orange and blue then swinging with his trident. Naruto took note that his trident was glowing like how his eyes changed colors. He saw the incoming attack as blue and stood still for it to phase but he was taken by surprise when it suddenly changed from blue to orange and ended up being sent flying from the powerful blow then crashing onto the ground. "Naruto!" Frisk was about to run towards Naruto but Nikken quickly tackled her out of the way of a fireball attack from Ascari just barely. "That really hurt," Naruto groaned out as he gets back to his feet, "but I at least figured out how that attack works." He picked up his Bakken and intercepted a stab from Ascari at Frisk for her to get a hit in before both moved away from the king. "Are you okay?" asked Frisk. "Still reeling from that attack, I'll be fine with a little pick-me-up." Naruto reached into his waistpack and brought out a hot dog to consume for healing. "Okay, I'm good to go again." He went on to engage Ascari once more and this time took note of the sequence which the king's eyes flashed before he swung his trident, enabling him to be able to avoid the combo of blue and orange attacks before reaching to grab the and tried to hold it down. "Frisk, attack now." "Oh okay." Frisk ran to strike but Ascari was about to break free. Nikken prevented that by leaping of Naruto's back and head-butting him in the face, giving her enough time to land a slash on him. "Just a little more," Naruto muttered to himself, tightening the grip on his still glowing Bakken as he watched Ascari get back to his feet then move his hand forward to conjure multiple fireballs then remotely launch them forward. Naruto and the others dodged them at first but quickly discovered that fiery projectiles are capable of turning around to pursue them. "Gotta take them out to clear a path for Frisk." He shifted to the storm form dashed about as he slashed at the fireballs to dissipate them before calling, "Go now." Frisk wasted no time to close in on Ascari and land the deciding blow which caused the king to drop his trident. Dropping down on one knee and holding a hand to his side. Naruto, Frisk and Nikken approached Ascari whose eyes are closed and let out a sigh of resignation before speaking. "Ah, so that's how it is." "What do you mean?" asked Frisk. "I remember the day after my son died. The entire underground was devoid of hope, the future had once again been taken from us by the humans. In a fit of anger, I declared war. I said that I would destroy any human that came here, I would use their souls to become godlike and free us from this terrible prison. Then, I would destroy humanity and let monsters rule the surface in peace. Soon, the people's hopes returned, said Askari. Neither Naruto nor Frisk said a word. The king let out another sigh of sadness. My wife, however, became disgusted with my actions. She left this place, never to be seen again. So that was why she was living in the ruins. No one would think to look for her there, thought Naruto as he continued to listen to Askari. Truthfully, I do not want power. I do not want to hurt anyone, I just wanted everyone to have hope. Askari's head bowed in sorrow. I cannot take this any longer, I just want to see my wife, I just want to see my child. Naruto and Frisk could now understand who Askari really is, a kind-hearted king who desires peace but is weighed down by his duty to his people to give them hope in spite of losing his entire family to actions of humanity. They're looking at a man who can't endure the burden for much longer. Please, young ones, Askari spoke up, gaining their attention, this war has gone on long enough. You have the power, take my soul and leave this cursed place. Naruto and Frisk were taken aback by this. He wanted to help them leave the underground even if it costed his very life and the slim chance of freedom for the monsters imprisoned underground. They looked at each other and nodded in unanimous agreement before turning to the king. Askari, I'm sorry but we can't do that. We refuse to take your soul, said Naruto, sheathing his Bakken and Frisk putting away the worn dagger. Askari looked at them in shock. Why? Ever since we fell into this place, we had met so many monsters and learned a lot about them, Naruto explained. Frisk continued, they also have dreams which they want to fulfill on the surface. She recalled Toriel wanting to be a teacher, Papyrus wanting to drive a fancy convertible on a highway, Mettaton wanting to be a superstar and so much more. You say that you were trying to give them hope, but to the monsters here you are their hope. Killing you to take your soul would mean that we have destroyed the hope which had kept them going all these years. But don't you wish to go home? Surely that is the very reason why you came all this way, asked Askari confusedly. Naruto's mind flashed to his mother and could barely imagine just how worried she is. He closed his eyes and shook his head before turning to Askari, I want to go to return to my mom. I'm all she has left and the same goes for me. But the cost to do that is far too great, maybe we could find some other way to go through the barrier. Not to mention that I would be breaking a lot of promises if I kill you, and I always keep my promises no matter what. We understand why you were doing this, I really wish that something so horrible hadn't happened to you and your family. You're a very kind monster, said Frisk with a sad smile. Askari looked down to the ground at their words, after everything I have done to hurt you, you would rather stay down here and suffer than live happily on the surface. The king looked up to them with a warm smile, humans, I promise you, for as long as you remain here my wife and I will take care of you as best we can. We can sit in the living room, telling stories, eating butterscotch pie, we could be like a family. Frisk smiled brightly at the thought of that and Naruto chuckled, that sounds nice, now let's help Y dash. Something suddenly flew by the children and struck Askari down, much to their horror. Askari! Frisk screamed as Naruto rushed to aid the king, but nothing could be done and they could only watch helplessly as he turned into dust and his soul split in half before shattering into many pieces and fading into nothingness. There was the sound of snickering and they turned sharply to see Flowey sneering at them whilst the 6 human souls floated around him. Flowey, it was you. Why did you kill Askari? Frisk asked. After all this time, you're still not getting it, how idiotic, Flowey taunted. Naruto was glaring at the flower when realization slammed into him like a train, you were waiting for this very moment. You knew that we would have no other choice but to fight Askari and wear him down, weak enough for you to be able to kill him. Flowey sneered in response, at least one of you isn't that stupid. Like I told you the very first time we met, in this world it's kill or be killed. He cackled madly as he absorbed the souls into his body and unleashed a bright flash, forcing everyone to close their eyes. Naruto opened his eyes and saw they were standing within a void. Where are we? Asked Frisk uneasily. I don't know, no doubt that this is the work of Flowey, Naruto surmised. You're right. Flowey appeared before them, albeit his face was of a gigantic size as he sneered down at them. "Howdy. It's me, Flowey, Flowey the Flower. I owe you a huge thanks, you really did a number on that old fool. Without you, I never could have gotten past him. But now, with your help he's dead and I've got the human souls. I always thought that you were up to no good, I just wasn't suspecting what exactly you were after," Naruto growled in frustration, thinking things would be different if he was more aware. "Boy. I've been empty for so long it feels great to have a soul inside me again." I can feel them wriggling," Flowey hummed gleefully before looking at Naruto and Frisk. "Aw, you're feeling left out, aren't you? Well, that's just perfect. After all, I only have 6 souls. I still need one more, though I wouldn't mind an extra before becoming something even more than a god. And then, with my newfound powers, monsters, humans, everyone. I'll show them all the real meaning of this world." "Not when we can stop you," said Frisk bravely. Flowey scoffed at her bravado. "And how are you going to do that? Fight me? And forget about escaping to your old save file, it's gone forever." "Darn it, not good," Naruto clenched his fist upon realizing what it meant. He can neither load nor reset the save file and that they can be killed permanently. "But don't worry, your old friend Flowey has worked out a replacement for you. I'll save over your own death so you can watch me tear you to bloody pieces over, and over, and over." "What?" Flowey saw that Naruto unsheathed his Botken and Frisk took out the worn dagger while Nikken snarled with his hackles raised. "Do you really think you can stop me? He, you really are idiots." Flowey faded into the darkness, but they could hear the sounds of squelching fleshing, creaking metal and creaking of wood as something approached and made itself visible to them. Needless to say, it was the most horrifying thing they had ever seen and won't be able to forget for a long time. From Naruto's point of view, it was all aspects of flesh, technology, and plant life has been meshed into one freakish package. In the middle of the body is a contorted human face with ant-like mandibles with a TV at the top. There were also 6 pipes with 3 on each side. And a pair of human eyes are located in the middle pipes. More pipes were seen to be attached to 2 large cacti which appears to act as arms. The TV turned on and Flowey's face displayed from it as he let out an echoing cackle of insanity. "And Naruto, what do we do?" asked Frisk fearfully. "Stay alive no matter what," said Naruto with sweat dripping down his forehead. File 3 saved. Naruto blinked in confusion at the message before seeing the lower eyes fire white X-shaped bullets in wide arcs towards. Left eye blazing with determination, Naruto positioned himself in front of Frisk and Nikken with the stance of the Gale form and deflected a majority of the bullets heading their way until the barrage stopped. Lines pointed their way but didn't inflict any sort of damage, but their souls pulsed strongly as if to alert them of an incoming attack, which got them to quickly move out of the way just in time as green vines shot out from Flowey in attempts to spear right through them. "Ha ha 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 ha. Aren't you as much fun as I am?" asked Flowey madly. The lines changed into circles this time to surround them. The children had to get away from within these circles before white bullets would materialize and converge upon them, with some of them nearly hitting Naruto and Frisk. Now the upper eyes were the ones to shot the X-shaped bullets like a shotgun, truly forcing pressure on them. Suddenly the attack ceased and a siren began blaring. They looked up to the TV screen to see it flashing red with a warning sign as well as the light blue human soul before everything went into a television static for a moment before Naruto and Frisk noticed that Flowey was gone save for the TV, which was still displaying the light blue soul. "What's going on and where's Flowey?" asked Frisk. "Don't know, but stay on guard for anything," said Naruto. Right as he said those words, large numerous knives appeared spinning towards them. The duo had to move narrowly between the gaps to avoid getting cut by them. Naruto gritted his teeth, being unable to find a way out of this situation but refused to give up. Then his soul pulsed like a heartbeat and something emerged from his waist pack, revealing to be the manly bandana and tough gloves which were glowing. The TV screen flashed before the light blue soul changed to the orange soul, which transformed into green bandages which fused with the children's bodies, healing them of their injuries. Naruto held out his hands for the items to settle onto them. Could these have belonged to the orange soul? He couldn't get time to think on it with Flowey returning with a sneer on his face. Still alive? Good. 'Cause I'd be disappointed if you die quickly, said Flowey. He had one of his cacti arms grow a Venus flytrap which began to suck in flies from out of nowhere and were rather harmful, which Naruto found out when one of flies scratched his shoulder and left a wound on it. As if that wasn't enough, the crazed flower sent out circular cactus-like snakes to bite his targets. Naruto and Frisk took advantage of their lack of vision. Interesting, how about this? Naruto's jaw dropped at what he's seeing right now. Are you kidding me? Flowey was literally dropping bombs down on them. The children scrambled out of the way of the bombs to avoid getting hit as well as the explosions afterwards. He saw the flower grow stem with finger guns on them before firing said fingers at them. The blonde shifted to his storm form to deflect them while staying on the move. Some of the fingers were heading Frisk's way, causing her to close her eyes and crossing her arms to brace for impact when a red circular shield of energy appeared before her and blocked the attack, then dissipating afterwards. Frisk-chan, how did you do that? Asked Naruto, running up to her. I don't know, I just didn't want to get hurt and it appeared, said Frisk confusedly. Maybe what happened to me is also happening to you too, but you're using it differently. Really? That's good, wish it happened earlier. They were snapped out of their conversation by the sound of a siren and looked to see the warning sign, and now the orange soul is on display before everywhere went static yet again. This time large gloved hands were targeting the children and Wolf Pup to try and grab them. Naruto was running with one of the hands closing in on him and had almost caught the blonde had he not dived out of the way and kept an eye out for any more targeting him. Oh, I wish there was a way we can escape from this, said Frisk worriedly. Her pocket began to glow. What is it? She reached inside and took out the ballet shoes and old tutu, triggering a resonance in which the orange soul was switched with the dark blue soul and transformed the gloved hands into green thumbs-ups. Quick, grab those so we can recover before they disappear, said Naruto urgently. The children quickly grabbed as many as they could before they disappeared and Flowey reappeared before them. I have something interesting in mind, hope you can survive the experience, said Flowey gleefully. What's he up to now? Said Naruto with a frown. File 2 saved. Naruto tensed at this before sensing an attack and dashing out of the way of vines aimed towards him and detected another barrage of vines heading and began to MO. File 2 loaded. He blinked and found himself in a previous spot, hardly getting the time to wonder what just happened when a barrage of vines slammed into him and was knocked down to the ground with a part of his clothes ripped and blooded. What just happened? I think I dodged that attack before, so how? Said Naruto confusedly before realizing what's going on. Naruto, are you okay? Asked Frisk with worry. Be careful Frisk-chan, Flowey is using the power of save and load to catch us off guard and get us. Flowey smirked, quite right, not that it would help you any. He continued to use save and load to disorient the duo whenever they successfully evade his attacks the first times, doing so randomly to confuse them and mess with their timing. Naruto and Frisk did the best they could but were hard-pressed to dodge these until they heard the siren once more and saw that it was the dark blue soul this time, with the area momentarily going static. The duo found their movement slightly restricted by a boundary of stars above them, and giant ballet shoes descended from above to try and stomp on them. He's using the powers of the souls he absorbed into himself, said Naruto upon the pattern so far. Then is it why they seem to act up with the things we found in the underground? Asked Frisk, darting away from a ballet shoe trying to crush her. Naruto scooped up Nikken into his arms and dived away from another shoe stomping at him. Maybe it's because they belonged to them when they were alive. Light glowed from his waist pack yet again for him to reach inside and bring out the torn notebook and cloudy glasses which he had bought from Jerson, triggering the resonance, and the deep blue soul was replaced by the purple soul. This in turn made the ballet shoes stop attacking and the stars changed into green musical notes for them to collect and heal themselves. Flowey looked down at them and cackled at their bruised appearance. This is so much fun, me killing you and you trying not to get killed. This is all just a game to you, isn't it? Asked Naruto with a glare. Duh, as if what I'm doing isn't obvious enough. He fired a barrage of X-shaped bullets with Naruto deflecting with his Bakken and Frisk creating the red energy shield from before to protect herself and Nikken against the incoming projectiles before darting away from the bombs sent their way. Floey then pulled off something new. He acting summoned a pair of flamethrowers which proceeded to fire several blasts of flames towards the children before following by growing more stems with finger guns to shoot at them. Naruto's left eye blazed intensely with determination and the Bakken now radiated a fiery white aura before swinging it rapidly with one hand to deflect the X-shaped bullets. There was the now familiar sound of the siren with the purple soul on display before finding themselves boxed in by 2 lines of books with each generating negative words towards them. Naruto, Frisk and Nikken had to watch out as they wouldn't which book generate an attack and end it their way. Okay, would the next soul lend a hand please? We could really use some help here, said Naruto as he jumped away from getting hit by a negative word from one of the books. Soon the waste pack began glowing again and he reached in to bring out the burnt pan and stained apron to trigger a resonance which made the purple soul be replaced with the green soul and the negative words were changed into green positive ones for them to recover their state of health before facing Floey yet again. Wow, you two definitely aren't boring me in the least. Let's mix things up a bit, said Floey. He proceeded to launch a barrage of X bullets as well as sending out vines towards the children. Then he took to utilizing the power of save and load to disorient them and mess their timing of movements and defense. I really hate it when he does this. Naruto gingerly tended to a new wound on his side from a vine attack. Naruto, I'm getting tired, said Frisk, panting lightly. Same here, said Naruto, they may be able to recover a bit by absorbing the green magic but it didn't that their stamina was being restored as well, not to mention their fight with Askari before all this. Soon enough, there was the siren sound and the green soul dragged them into another sequence where 3 giant frying pans hovered above Naruto and others, then they proceeded to flip multiple fireballs below at them. Darn it, I don't know how much more we can take this, said Naruto anxiously, diving out of the way of a falling fireball. Even Nikken yelped when one of the fireballs singed the tip of his tail with a bit of fur burnt slightly. Sure enough, his waist pack glowed yet again with Naruto reaching inside and bringing out the cowboy hat and empty gun to trigger the resonance and the frying pans proceeded to toss down green fried eggs to recover with. Still alive? Oh well, on with the fun, said Floey. He sends out more of the cactus-like snakes to attack them then followed up with his flamethrowers before growing 2 Venus flytraps to SCK and flies along with them although the children endured the rapid assault of attacks again and again. The siren sounded with the final soul being the yellow one making its appearance and dragging them into a sequence where a giant gun was actively aiming towards them and firing large bullets. Thankfully they were able to sense the moment of its attacks by detecting red targets which would blink before the gun fires. How so tired huh? Frisk noticed that her pocket began to glow and she reached in to bring out the toy knife and faded ribbon, triggering a resonance for the yellow soul to be replaced by the light blue soul and the gun began to shoot green 4-leaf clovers to heal them but. Naruto went down on one knee and was panting while Frisk dropped down on both knees and looked like she was about to faint from exhaustion. I'm almost at my limit, Naruto groaned, trying to get up but his body doesn't want to listen. I can't move anymore. Frisk even Nikken whined about exhaustion. So alright folks, that's all for today. Stay tuned for part 4. Do subscribe, like and share for more such videos. Also check out the story and author Hussbek on FANFICTIONnet. Press the bell icon to be notified first on release. See you in the next video till then goodbye.